Part 3 Fire. Chapter 6 Secret Number 6 It's all about your assets. Becoming wealthy is like playing Monopoly. The person who can accumulate the most assets wins the game. Noel Whittaker. Cut to the chase. You only need one thing to be a rich idiot. If you've got it, you're a rich idiot. If you don't, you're a rub. Can you guess what that one thing is? A luxury rental on South Beach next door to Robert and his friends. A brand new car that valets always park right outside the door of the restaurant. So many designer clothes you have to convert 2 rooms into a closet. A private limo and driver to whisk you around when you don't feel like driving. Your very own table at the best restaurant in town whenever you get the munchies. Decorator selected everything, from your sofa to your commode. If you picked even one of these items, tempting though they are, you're in rubland. Do not pass go. Do not collect any money. Why? Because none of these are even remotely close to the one thing that makes rich idiots rich, and that's assets. Stay with me now. This is one of the most important secrets you'll ever learn about wealth and how it is created. Upside down and on your assets. You're probably thinking you're going to get rich when you start making more money. And to you that means getting a raise, getting another job, winning the lottery. Understand this, all these things may make you rich, but they won't make you a rich idiot. Why? Because rich idiots don't make money by working a job, depending on a raise, working 2 jobs, or even winning lotteries. Rich idiots get rich only one way: they quit their job. They quit their second job. They tear up their lottery ticket and they go out and buy assets, and many rich idiots don't even use a dime of their own money to do it. Got that? You don't need a job. You don't need a windfall. You don't even need any money to start on your rich idiot asset acquisition plan. You're probably thinking right now that you need a lot of money to start investing. Wrong. Most multimillionaire investors started with less than $1,000. Keep reading. I'll show you how you can start with as little as $100 or, better yet, no money of your own at all. What's an asset? Robert's rule for determining what is and isn't an asset is simple: an asset is anything that makes you money. And owning at least one is the only true way to become a really happy, successful rich idiot. Too simple a definition for you? Here's one from a financial dictionary. It's formal but it basically says the same thing: a resource having economic value that an individual, corporation or country owns or controls with the expectation that it will provide future benefit. Remember when you were in the science lab at high school and you got to dissect some creature and look at its parts under a microscope? Let's do the same with this thing called an asset. First, you should know that all true assets share these 3 characteristics. 1. They have value. 2. You own or control them. 3. They provide you with future benefit, aka money. Rich idiots check off each of these essentials before they buy anything. And when rich idiots buy, they buy assets first. This makes them more successful and much wealthier than rubs, who buy liabilities, or the evil twin of assets. What's a liability? According to dictionary.com, liabilities are monies owed, debts or pecuniary obligations. That's to the point. But I like this definition from answers.com even better. A liability is something for which one is liable, an obligation, responsibility, or debt, and something that holds one back, a handicap. The good twin, assets, versus the evil twin, liabilities. It's true that both assets and liabilities have value. In that respect, they're the same. It's also true that you own or control assets, and because you're responsible for your liabilities, that's a type of ownership as well, although I might add that more often it feels like liabilities own you. Now let's look at the future. Assets provide you with future benefits, such as money in the form of income or cash. Liabilities, on the other hand, take money away from you, they hold you back, they're a handicap. Remember, buy assets first because they bring you money. Buy liabilities second because they cost you money. Let's go back a couple of pages to the list of goodies and toys and go through them. Now that you have a solid definition of assets, you'll be able very quickly to see why these are definitely not assets. A luxury rental on South Beach next door to Robert and his friends. If you own this condo, or have a lease option on it, then it could become an asset. Real estate is one of the major assets rich idiots love to acquire. But as long as you're a tenant, this asset is a liability for you, not for the owner. Every month you spend your money on the rent, all you get back is a cool view and an address that will impress your friends. Moreover, when you move out, you can't convert the condo to cash. So there's no doubt it's a liability and not an asset. By the way, Robert and his friends who live on South Beach own their condos or have lease options on them, making their apartments assets. Get the difference? A brand new car that valets always park right outside the door of the restaurant. If you plunked down $80,000 or $85,000 for this brand new, really cool car and drove it out of the showroom, you probably lost about $25,000. Wow. That makes this car you're so proud of a big liability and most decidedly not an asset. Go back to the definition. Sure, the car has value. Of course, you own it, or at least control it, probably along with your partner, the bank, or the finance company, but no matter how cool, these wheels will not bring you future cash. Cars are not assets. A rare exception would be if you bought a classic car and owned it for a time and then sold it for more than what you'd paid. Then that car would have been an asset. See the difference? So many designer clothes you have to convert 2 rooms into a closet clothes do have value. They make you look hot and feel good, and if they're the work of certain designers they confer status. So in that sense they're an asset. In your closet or on your bod, there's no question you own or at least control them, another indicator of an asset. But here's the catch, clothes lose their value as soon as you snip off the tags. And that makes them a liability. Again, there can be an exception. Here's one, if you bought Jacqueline Kennedy's Halston-designed pink pillbox hat, that would be an asset because it would have gone up in price. Why? Because the hat is no longer just a hat, it's a collectible, and collectibles, like art, antiques, vintage clothing, and coins, can be very good assets. A private limo and driver to whisk you around when you don't feel like driving the limo is not an asset because it's something you have to pay for. It's money coming out of your pocket with no hope of future replenishment. Ditto for the driver. Your very own table at the best restaurant in town, whenever you get the munchies, this item is one of the ultimate status symbols. Perhaps it's the round table by the window at Michael's, a trendy restaurant in New York, or a seat at Tony Soprano's table in the Bada Bing. The bowing and scraping that greets a favored regular is great for the ego, but it's not an asset. That best seat in the house will cost you, and that makes it a liability. Decorator selected everything, from your sofa to your commode. Top of the line decor is great, but when the next in vogue decorator comes on the scene, all those beautiful furnishings, from couches to commodes and from draperies to divans, turn into just second-hand stuff, fetching much less in the consignment market than they did when you first bought them. Looks great, but no assets here, except if your furnishings are bona fide antiques. Then we're back to collectibles. Rubs and rich idiots. Who acquires what? Rubs tend to acquire liabilities, consumables, which is a surefire way to identify a rub, while rich idiots acquire assets, which is what makes them rich in the first place. Take a close look at this list. Where do you fit? Do you own such assets as cash in a savings account, CDs, or mutual funds? How about real estate? Or a stock portfolio? Hopefully you're not tossing all your money at flashy cars, clothes, and furniture, or frittering it away by constantly dining at 4-star restaurants and taking luxury vacations. Rubs, rich idiots, cars, cash, furniture, real estate, clothes, stock portfolio, trips, businesses. The 2 most secret rich idiot assets. There are 2 more assets rich idiots hold very dear, and they're just as important in growing wealth as cash, real estate, stock portfolios, or ownership of a business. The first is you, the second is your time. This is a big upside down moment. You're your most important asset. Your time is your next most important asset. How are you treating those 2 assets? Your time and your money. Most people trade their hours for dollars. You've got a job and you put in your 8, or 10, or even 18 hours. What do you get? Money. What have you done? You've just traded your time for money. And it's very hard to get wealthy that way. You're basically turning yourself into a liability when you do that. Why? Because you have only a limited amount of time to trade for dollars. At some point you're going to run out. Maybe you've reached that moment already. No time left and your pile of dollars isn't growing as an asset would grow. Rather, it's diminishing as a liability diminishes. That's the time part. Now let's talk about the you part. I got very disturbed once during a seminar. I asked the audience, about 25,000 people, how many of you with jobs can't wait to get to work on Monday morning? Up until that moment I'd been joking and kidding with the group, and they'd been laughing and full of energy. Then I saw the result of my question. I was shocked. Only 3 people put up their hands. Can you imagine, given the size of that audience, getting only 3 positive responses? It was so quiet. It sounded like a library or a morgue. Nobody was smiling anymore. The mood had changed. Something like 24,997 people were apparently trading themselves their most valuable rich idiot asset for a job they disliked and for time they resented spending. Here's the irony, those three hadn't heard the question correctly. I had asked, how many of you with a job? All three worked for themselves. One traded stocks and had built up a sizable portfolio over several years. The second had been buying and selling real estate part-time for the past 4 years, and her houses were now bringing in enough money that she could quit her job and do real estate full-time. The third person, experiencing professional bliss, owned an online business and loved every minute of it. What did all three have in common? They owned assets, either stocks, real estate, or a business. They traded their time for assets. As Brian Tracy, one of America's best-known motivators, says, your greatest asset is your earning ability. Your greatest resource is your time. Remember, you are your most important asset. Your time is your second most important asset. The man who made $15,000 every time he went to the John I began to really understand the power of assets from a friend of mine who was a baby lawyer in a large law firm in the South with about 160 lawyers. He told me the story of his boss, the company's founder. But before I share the story, let me explain something about how lawyers make money. Lawyers sell their time. They bill in increments of hours for work done on behalf of their clients, anywhere from $200 to over $600 per hour depending on the skill and position of the attorney. Billing for phone time is done in increments of minutes. You can imagine how quickly those fees add up. Now, these lawyers working for my friend's company were making good money, well over $100,000 or more a year. But they were still rubs. Not their boss, though. There was no doubt that this man was a major rich idiot. Here's why. Robert, you won't believe this, related my friend, who had done the math and now shared the remarkable results with me. While the top lawyers in my firm are pulling down about $200,000 to $300,000 a year, my boss, the firm's founder, is making about $90,000 an hour, $15,000 every 10 minutes. I figured out that when he goes to the bathroom he's making about $17,000 just washing his hands and combing his hair. How was that possible? Simple. This man followed the rich idiot secret of acquiring assets. The founder of that law firm owned an asset. In fact, he owned 160 assets, all of them lawyers. The lawyers who worked for him, no matter how big their paychecks, were rubs selling their time for dollars. The founder, on the other hand, took a percentage of the money every single lawyer billed. Whatever he was doing, whether eating breakfast, traveling, or washing his hands in the John, as every one of his 160 lawyers was working, that man was making money. His assets were providing him with benefits. I got to study that man. And I learned something else from him. Whenever he accumulated a whole bunch of money, he used it to buy even more assets. He bought real estate, shopping centers, stocks, and bonds, other businesses, even race horses. In that way he kept making more and more wealth. It was no wonder he was one of the wealthiest men in the South, a kind of super ultimate rich idiot. But this particular story doesn't end there. I used to see him driving around town. Do you want to know what he drove? It was a 10-year-old car. His clothes were simple. He didn't go out much. He was a very humble man. He had some pretty impressive degrees: a master's of psychology, a doctor of divinity, and a doctor of law, despite having dyslexia like me. But whenever he was introduced to someone he'd always say, "I'm just a simple lawyer from Mississippi trying to make a living. If I can ever do anything personally or professionally for you, do not hesitate to call." Where do rich idiots learn to become rich idiots? Not in school, for the most part. I'm a big believer in education. I support 2 schools for kids who are just like I was, an idiot in school. Education is great. But the truth is, most rich idiots don't learn about assets, liabilities, and all the other secrets of building wealth in a classroom. And I'm talking from personal experience. After my early adventures in high school, I straightened out and became a rub. That's right. I pulled up my grades. Followed all the rules. Applied to college. Got in and graduated. I got an MBA and a law degree. Here's the funny part. If you take the 4 years I spent in college, and add the 4 years of graduate school, plus books, transportation, and living expenses, about $250,000 was spent on my education. What had that investment taught me? Not how to create wealth, but how to get a job. And that's what I did. Specifically, my first job right out of school paid me less than $50,000. I traded a $250,000 investment for a return of less than $50,000. These are rub rules. This is rub math. A rich idiot would have followed the rich idiot rule of 72. I could have taken that $250,000 and put it into some type of an interest-bearing vehicle, calculating its rate of growth by taking the amount of interest, say, 10%, and dividing it into 72. A 10% rate would mean that my pile of money would double in 7.2 years. Bottom line, had I respected the power of compound interest and taken the rich idiot approach, I might have been sitting on $500,000 7 years after grad school. Instead, I was saddled with 2 degrees, $250,000 worth of educational debt, and a job that would keep me a rub until the light finally dawned. Don't get me wrong, I'm a big believer in education. I just believe people need to educate themselves in how to make and grow money. The magic of compound interest: starting date, starting amount invested at 10%, year 1 $20,000, $20,000 year 2 $24,200, year 3 $26,620, year 4 $29,282, year 5 $32,210, year 6 $35,431. My Uncle Morris was one of the richest men in my family. And for the longest time, while I was a rub, I never quite understood what he did for a living. For one thing, he was always home. When he wasn't at home in California, he was traveling all over the world, or playing and hanging out with all the kids and cousins. In fact, as a teenager I remember thinking he had a great life, does nothing and has lots of money and time. As I became older and more plugged in, I discovered that Uncle Morris was one of the first rich idiots in our family. He came to America from Argentina when he was about 13 or 14. His English was so poor that he couldn't get a good job, so he worked in restaurants as a dishwasher. It didn't take him long to figure out that he didn't like washing dishes. So he borrowed some money from family and friends and opened a small restaurant. He worked hard. The restaurant did well. He sold it and bought another one. Then he started buying low-income property in California. He quickly discovered that people moving into his houses needed furniture, so he invested in low-income furniture stores. Uncle Morris never went to school. He never had formal training in how to make money. But his instincts were good and he invested in assets even when he had to borrow to acquire them. And over time all these assets kept making him income while increasing in value. I remember him always being relaxed and smiling. He supported a lot of family members and was always generous. There is one particular irony that always makes me smile. Even though he was an enormous real estate investor and owned a large number of properties, he was never able to pass the real estate agent's exam. Uncle Morris became one of my rich idiot role models. Remember, education doesn't guarantee wealth. Rubs and rich idiots, who acquires what? An amended list. Here's the list again. This time it's complete with the additions of you and your time. Now do your own comparison. Which list most closely resembles your acquisitions? Rubs, rich idiots, cars, cash, furniture, real estate, clothes, stock, portfolio, trips, businesses. You, your time. Start buying assets. Okay, it's time for you to buy your first assets. What's that? I think I hear all those excuses. Robert, I'm scared. I don't have the time. I'm broke. Stop right now. You can buy your first stocks, with as little as $10. Online trading allows you to invest as little as $10 for a small fixed fee to set up your account and make stock purchases and sales. There are a number of mutual funds that allow you to buy in for as little as $100. Go to www.getrichwithrobert.com for a list of these companies. You can buy your first piece of real estate using no money of your own. Many real estate investors have started real estate fortunes with not a single penny of their own money. In fact, many didn't even have the ability to borrow, because their credit was either poor or non-existent. There are many ways to overcome this lack of initial capital. 2 of the more popular and successful strategies are: A. Find a partner who either will lend you the money or will allow you to use his credit, or B. Find a motivated seller who is willing to allow you to take on the deed to the property with no down payment and favorable terms. These deals and arrangements abound in every real estate market across the country. You can start a business using no money of your own. There are many franchise opportunities where the franchisor will finance your startup business, Partnerships with friends who also want to become rich idiots can provide some startup funds. You can simply begin to sell products on the internet for the cost of a high-speed connection and a website. You can join a direct sales or a quality multi-level marketing company and begin to sell products and sign up members for a revenue and passive income stream. You can end up with a very healthy cash asset by investing as little as $1 a day or $250 a week. Just take a look at these two compound interest tables and see for yourself. Investment of $1 a day year earning interest at 10% $1,402 5 $2,282 10 $5,903 15 $11,736 20 $21,129 25 $36,256 30 $60,619 $61,117,811 investment of $250 a week, $13,000 a year. Year earning interest at 10% $13,200 5 $75,018 10 $194,097 15 $385,827 20 $694,639 25 $1,191,984 $31,992,964 60 $36,749,959 These and many other ideas and strategies can be found on my website, www.getrichwithrobert.com. Are we done now? There's nothing left to whine or complain about. So let's get started. I'm about to take you through Robert's Rich Idiot asset acquisition strategy. I'll share all the ways I learned to acquire assets, stocks and bonds, real estate, and businesses. Every single asset I acquired brought me closer to rich idiot status, and the minute you start acquiring, you'll also be on your way. Robert and Wendy's. When I was 13, like all Jewish boys, I had a bar mitzvah. As is the custom, family and friends brought money in celebration of my new status as a man. My father and I counted up my birthday money. I had a grand total of $1,200. According to our traditions, Robert, said my father, you're a man now and must begin to make your own decisions. You have to decide what to do with this money. I was a man, but I was still 13 years old. I want a new bike, I announced. I couldn't wait to purchase a liability. You have to invest it, said my father, pointing me to my first asset in my very first step on the path to rich idiot wealth. Invest in what? I answered, trying to figure out how to turn a new bike into an investment my father would approve of. Buy some stock, was the response. I don't know anything about stocks. The bicycle was disappearing fast. Stocks are small pieces of companies you buy and own. Choose a company you like and buy stock in that company. I like hamburgers, I said, thinking that if I couldn't get the bike, I could at least get some great burgers. I like Wendy's hamburgers. To my surprise, my father took me seriously. He called a stockbroker and got a lot of information about Wendy's. We read it together. He explained to me what to look for in a company. He showed me that Wendy's didn't have a lot of debt on its books at the time. He pointed out that the company was growing. All I knew was that the place had great burgers. So we took my $1,200 to the stockbroker and bought some Wendy's stock. Within 2 years it had quadrupled, and the surge wasn't from all the burgers I was buying. Anyway, that's how I began acquiring stocks as a major part of my investment portfolio. What about you? Is there a particular company whose products and services you use frequently? Is there a particular industry you're interested in? Are your kids playing with toys or games that are growing in popularity? Are your parents and their friends making lifestyle or health purchases from particular companies? All these can be clues to your first stock acquisition. Robert and real estate. You already know how I got started collecting another major asset for my portfolio, real estate. I told you the story of the old man and his wife in that rundown office who owned over 100 properties free and clear, made an income over $1 million, took 6 months off every year, and enjoyed themselves while their assets worked to provide them with a true rich idiot life. You know how I followed that man around for over a year, learning everything I could about buying, selling, and managing properties until I finally summoned up the courage to buy a property of my own. Now let me tell you something you may not know. I started buying up a lot of real estate assets and got pretty good at it. So good, in fact, that I was able to retire at the ripe old age of 30. The rental income from my properties covered all expenses and provided a good living, allowing me to go out and buy more properties assets. Basically, I spent my time just hanging out. Of course, it wasn't long before my buddies, all working in jobs and trading their precious hours for dollars, began to ask how I did it. They wanted to do it, too. They wanted to own stuff, quit their jobs, and just hang out like me. The questions never let up. How do you do real estate? How do you buy properties? How do you not use your own money? How do you make sure it works? Can I take you to lunch? I'd say, sure, everyone's got to eat. We'd go to lunch and I'd explain the whole thing all over again. I realized my time was an asset and I was spending too much of it explaining the same things over and over again, even though I wanted all my friends and their friends and their friends' friends to be successful, too. So I wrote this little 20-page report and just handed it to anyone who wanted to know how I did it. The next thing I knew, someone suggested it would make a pretty good book. I was retired, with nothing much to do except my real estate, so I hand-wrote a book. As I mentioned, I have a form of dyslexia that means I can't use a typewriter or keyboard. I self-published it, and to my surprise, the book took off, becoming the first of my many best-selling books on real estate and wealth building. It also formed the core of a script I've used to build a multimillion-dollar speaking and coaching business. Now I have even more assets, and the best part is, I can help others, people just like you, to own assets, to stop trading hours for dollars, and live the life of a rich idiot like me. Robert gets his first real business asset. As I've said, there are 3 basic assets: stocks and bonds, real estate, and some form of business. But there's also cash in the form of savings accounts, CDs, and money market accounts. I've already told you how I acquired my first stock and real estate assets. Now I'm about to tell you how I acquired my first business asset. At the time, I had several properties and many tenants. I believe in ethical landlording, a very radical concept for some landlords. That is, I believe renters should be treated as customers. A tenant of mine suggested that my next book be for renters. "You're a landlord," he said. "Why not write a book for renters like me? Tell renters how some landlords rip them off. Show them how to protect themselves." I loved the idea. Here was a real need. Here were people who wanted help. So I wrote a book called The Renter's Rights Handbook. It took off. I was invited to be a guest on TV talk shows. I was interviewed on the radio. Newspapers wrote articles about me and my book. I was flooded with letters from renters asking for advice. A lot of the advice they wanted and needed was legal advice. I've got a law degree, but I'm not a practicing lawyer. I never have been. I'm a happy lawyer. I have never practiced law. But I wanted to help, so I started to look around for some kind of legal referral service they could use. Finally, I found what I was looking for, a company called Prepaid Legal that provided legal assistance for an affordable flat monthly fee. This was a referral-based marketing company that many rubs would call a multi-level marketing company or network marketing company. I used the service, thought it was great, and signed up as an associate. The problem was that it was a multi-level marketing company and I was pretty skeptical about these types of firms. So I continued searching for low-cost help for tenants. Then one evening I was speaking at a meeting attended by about 100 investors. I happened to mention this prepaid legal organization I'd found and suddenly 65 members of the audience wanted to sign up on the spot. www.getrichwithrobert.com. I took another look at the firm, at its reputation, at the way it serviced clients, and decided to try it. I filled out the forms for the 65 investors and a week later the company sent me a commission check for $8,000. I thought it was a mistake because, being the rich idiot that I am, I'd never bothered to learn about the compensation plan and the payment structure. I just knew that if you signed up people the company would send a check. And it did. Every subsequent month more and more people at my seminars signed up and got the low-cost legal advice they needed, and I received larger and larger checks. The tenants were happy. I was happy. I now had a business. Tenants got legal advice they needed and investors and business people got good advice, saved money, and got access to great attorneys. I'd created another income stream for myself. I was helping people. I had done some research, filled a need, and now was being rewarded for the activity. And the third asset of my own rich idiot plan was in place. But it didn't end there for me, because, as I learned, success attracts more success. I found myself meeting other successful people. I started hanging out with a more successful crowd. All kinds of new opportunities began to come my way. All of a sudden people were seeking me out. Robert, you need to meet so and so, someone would say. They've got this great investment opportunity, or they've got a terrific business idea. I started to meet these exciting, creative people. I began to invest with them and in them. Now I had cash in the bank, a stock portfolio, real estate, my own business, and shares in the businesses of others. I was asset rich. Remember, another way to think of rich, residual income creates happiness. Follow the asset path. When I trace my asset path, from that first Wendy's stock purchase because I liked their hamburgers, to my chance meeting with a man who taught me to invest in real estate, to the serendipity of writing the first of my best-selling books, one of which led me to a new and successful business, I'm amazed. What about your path to riches? Mark today as the beginning of your journey. Follow the road where it leads, as I did. Don't be afraid. Trust yourself. Trust the powers that guide you and reveal opportunities. Explore everyone. Take action. Have fun. Do good. Enjoy every minute you spend becoming a rich idiot. Remember, trust your wealth path and follow where it leads. Join AA Asset Allocation now that you've got or are acquiring all these assets. There are 2 words that can take you from rich to mega rich: asset allocation. Here's how they work to increase your wealth. Asset. All rich idiots have as their primary goal the accumulation of as many assets as possible. Warren Buffett accumulates shares in companies and reinvests the income from share dividends in more shares. Bill Gates owns a company that throws off massive profits. He takes those profits and reinvests them, and the cycle is repeated. Donald Trump owns real estate that generates rental income and appreciation. He takes those monies and buys more real estate. But if you're looking for role models, I'd encourage you to look beyond such asset rock stars as Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, or Donald Trump and check out what's happening in your own town. There you'll find people who've used the same cyclical formula to build lasting wealth. Your first goal as a beginning rich idiot is to acquire your first assets. You don't need a lot of money. In fact, you don't need any money. You can use creative financing techniques, you can borrow, or you can find partners. The key is to begin. Start today. Allocation. Allocation refers to the way your assets are distributed. It's the number and type of different baskets you put your eggs into, the key word here being different. Prudent rich idiots never keep all their eggs in one basket. What if you've stored those precious eggs in a stock basket and the basket falls splat? Now you've got lots of broken eggs. What if you've placed all your eggs in a real estate basket and the real estate market takes a dive? More broken eggs. What if every one of your eggs is in your own business basket and you lose a major account? Eggshells. When you put all your eggs in one asset basket and that basket breaks, the best you can hope for is an omelet. Sam's sad story. Sam was a distant relative of mine who had made tens of millions of dollars in his recycling business. He had a huge junkyard and collected and recycled industrial junk. Sam was a visionary and way ahead of his time. Today he'd be a hero, and one of the good green people. But disaster struck Sam. The EPA said there was something wrong with the land. His business was on land that had been in his family for over 100 years. The agency filed a lawsuit against him. He fought back but lost his battle. Sam went from wealthy to broke in a matter of months. What's the lesson here? If Sam had broadly allocated his assets, he'd be wealthy still. Instead, everything he owned was tied up in his business. When the business he loved disappeared, so did his assets. It's not disloyal to spread your assets around to protect them. Rather, it's your obligation as a rich idiot to do just that. Cash is king. You've heard the expression cash is king. It's true. Rich idiots always have a liquid cash basket on their shelf. Cash will give you a sense of security, protect you against sudden asset emergencies, and reduce your stress levels so you'll be able to make better decisions. As a side benefit, it will also create interest income you can roll over and compound. All rich idiots want cash flowing into their asset baskets. You can get started today by taking 10% of everything you make from now on and creating your first cash basket. Imagine if you had taken 10% of everything you earned the past 10 years and had it in a cash account today. How would you feel? Start today so in 10 years' time you'll feel great. Cash flow. You've got $1 zillion coming in every week and half a zillion going out. That's positive cash flow. That's good. You've got $237.49 coming in every week and $246.08 going out. That's negative cash flow. That's bad. Sometimes even rich idiots, like Sam, get tapped out. The cash stops flowing. There's a cash crunch. Cash crunch: you might have a strong stock portfolio, lots of real estate, and several businesses, but all that may not protect you against a cash crunch or, as the number crunchers say, negative cash flow. Sometimes your cash faucet gets plugged, turned off, or simply dries up. At those times you may need to dip into your cash basket and take out some money. That's why one of the most important asset allocations is a basket with at least 6 months' worth of living expenses tucked safely inside. If your living expenses are $5,000 a month, remember to include every single item. You should have at least $30,000 in a safe, liquid checking or savings account. That way, if one of your investments doesn't pan out, or you lose your job, or some other financial disaster strikes, you'll be prepared and will be in a position to hold on to your other assets until you can rebuild again. Personally, I like to have a full 12 months supply put away for emergencies. Cash capital. Finally, one of your baskets should contain cash that's just waiting for a great investment opportunity to arise. You don't want to have to pass it up because you're a little short of ready investment cash. Remember, start putting aside 10% of every dollar you earn, today. Asset killers: you've got your assets. You've allocated them. Now I'm going to show you how to protect them from the 4Ds, 1. Divorce, 2. Disability, 3. Death, 4. Government divorce. Here's the good news: the divorce rate is down from about 53% of all marriages to about 42%. Love seems to be winning, but I've also heard that part of the reason for the downward trend is that fewer people are getting married. Here's the bad news: divorce still wipes out half of all accumulated assets, half of the cash, half of the investments, half of the real estate holdings, half of the business. I'm single, but if I get married again I'm going to have a prenuptial agreement. That's right, I didn't have one the first time around. Do you know what my prenup is going to say? If she leaves me, I'm going with her. Because if your spouse leaves, he or she can take half of what you had together. Here are Robert's rules for protecting your assets from divorce. 1. Choose your marriage partner very carefully. This isn't a relationship book, but I will say that it's important to take your time and make sure you've picked the right partner. You should both have similar value systems and life goals. Your views about money, assets, and wealth should be compatible. Sit down together and discuss your plans for creating and preserving wealth in your marriage before you tie the knot. 2. Sign a prenuptial agreement. This is very important, especially if you are entering into a second marriage or if there are children from your first marriage. Rich idiots know that love is love, but money is money, and you don't have to share all your wealth with a new spouse and risk the financial future of the rest of your family. Find a good attorney and get that prenup signed. 3. Be prepared for the worst. We all enter into marriages hoping they'll last forever, but sometimes things don't work out. If you're developing a lot of investments, make sure you contact an attorney who specializes in creating asset protection tools. You may be advised to put some of your assets into an irrevocable trust, a limited liability company, a dynasty trust, or some other specialized vessel. Get a good attorney and follow his or her asset protection advice. Disability. Disability is a major wealth killer. You may not realize this, but in any calendar year you have a 40 times greater chance of becoming disabled than of dying. This isn't meant to frighten or depress you. I'm simply saying that you work hard to create assets, make sure you protect them by protecting yourself. If you currently work for a company you may have disability insurance, but if you work for yourself you likely haven't taken steps to set this up. Ask yourself what would happen if you were in an accident or if you became ill and weren't able to work for 3 months, 6 months, a year. Would all your bills be paid? Would you have enough money to make your mortgage payments, your car payments, keep your kids in school, buy groceries, and maintain the same lifestyle you have now? Don't think this doesn't happen to people. As a real estate investor I see it happen every day. I see people who are suddenly forced to sell their home for 30%, 40%, even 50% below the market price because they became ill for an extended period, blew through their savings, and finally couldn't keep up their payments. These people went from being financially okay to financially ruined. Often these are middle class, upper middle class, and even wealthy families. The reality is, too many Americans are just 1 or 2 missed paychecks away from disaster. Are you one of them? Call a good insurance agent, financial planner, or broker. Make sure you purchase enough disability insurance to protect you. Death. Another asset killer is death. What many Americans don't know is that if you are not protected by a will, or if you don't have the proper trusts set up, your family could lose over half of what you earned over a lifetime. Too many families, even very wealthy ones, have had to liquidate precious assets, land, homes, art collections, family businesses, all because of an unexpected and financially unprotected death that is now subject to a 55% estate tax levied by the government. Make sure all your paperwork is in order and inform your family where to find it and what to do. Get with a professional and make sure you have all your paperwork done regarding your health care, your will, trusts, insurances, powers of attorney, so that your financial house is in order. I have examples and referrals for you at www.getrichwithrobert.com. To government, I want you to meet your wealth partner. But, Robert, I don't have a partner, you protest. Wrong, I say. You've got a partner, one who possesses a share of every single business, investment, and account you own, and who takes anywhere from 20% to 50% of your assets, depending on where you live and how much you make. Have you figured out who this partner is yet? That's right. It's the government, federal, state, municipal. And the share your partner takes is in the form of taxes. There are federal income taxes, state income taxes, local income taxes, sales taxes, and property taxes. All these taxes add up and take a big bite out of those eggs in your various baskets. Now, don't get me wrong, taxes pay for lots of necessary social benefits, schools, roads, safety, and more. But as a rich idiot, you're going to make it your goal to legally reduce the amount of taxes you have to pay so you can increase your asset base. Make sure you're maximizing your tax reduction and tax deferral vehicles. Are you using your 401k at work? Do you, your spouse, and your children have IRAs? Many self-employed rich idiots, like me, have self-directed pension plans and self-directed IRAs, which allow us to determine how and where we invest our retirement funds. If you qualify for one of these programs, you can take $44,000 off the top of your income each year, thereby reducing your taxes due. If you're in the 30% tax bracket, 30% of $44,000 means you could possibly not pay about $13,200 in taxes this year. If you qualify for this, you could possibly avoid the payment on these taxes for a very long time. This is a gift from the government this year. But many people simply don't know about it. As a rich idiot, you'll change your dollar thinking. Every time you get a dollar, you won't think, wow, I just made another dollar for one of my asset allocation baskets. No, what you're going to think is, wow, I just made another dollar, and after I give my partner his share, I'm going to put the rest, anywhere from 50 cents to 80 cents, into my asset allocation basket. You're going to think in after-tax dollars, not before-tax dollars. Remember, the only dollars that count are after-tax dollars. The story of Dr. Tommy. Tommy wanted to be a doctor for as long as he could remember. He went to college. He moved on to medical school. He put in hard years getting specialized training. Finally, he was ready to open his practice. That's when Dr. Tommy told me over lunch one day, Robert, I'm so excited. I'm going to make $100,000 a year, and I can't wait to spend it. I hated to break the news to him. Tommy, I said, it's time for a reality check. You've got a partner, and by the time you've paid that partner his share, you're going to be left with maybe $60,000 or $65,000 a year. That's when Dr. Tommy's $100,000 bubble burst. Reducing your partner's stake. Here's my advice: get together with a good accountant and a reliable tax attorney. Work with them to develop and use all the tax write-offs that are legally yours and that you may not be benefiting from right now. Keeping more of your wealth will allow you to live the rich idiot life you want and help lots of others live better lives also. My last word about your assets: it's never too late to begin. And you don't need any money of your own to get started. In the following chapters you'll see just how easy it can be. Your Rich Idiot Upside Down Action Plan 1. Make a list of any assets you may already have. 2. Write down what assets you are going to acquire next. Chapter 7. Still secret number 6. Get into debt. If you think nobody cares if you're alive, try missing a couple of car payments. Merle Travis: what do you mean, get into debt? You know by now that when it comes to all things financial, rich idiots think and act in a completely upside down way. That's what makes them rich idiots. That same upside-down thinking and behavior also goes for the way rich idiots deal with debt. Rich idiots get into debt. Bottom line, if you want to be a rich idiot, you'll get into debt, too. Hey, Robert, I'm stressed to the max because I'm in debt already, you say. I bought your book because I thought you were going to help me get out of debt. I don't get what you're saying here. Don't get confused or frustrated. What I probably should have said right at the beginning is, get out of bad debt and get into good debt. Remember, rubs have bad debt. Rich idiots have good debt. Let me explain. There are two kinds of debt, bad debt and good debt. Rubs have tons of bad debt, rich idiots have tons of good debt. Bad debt keeps rubs broke and getting broker. Good debt makes rich idiots rich and helps them get even richer. You'll catch on really fast because I'm going to share with you some very simple methods rich idiots use to lose bad debt and take on good debt. By the time I'm done, you'll be able to put together a rich idiot, get out of bad debt and into good debt, plan for yourself. What's bad debt? Bad debt is the kind of debt you're probably buried under right now. It's the debt you've charged up on your credit cards for everything from yesterday's groceries to the trip you took 3 years ago and still haven't paid off. It's all those loans with your name on them, money you borrowed for your car, your furnishings, your daughter's wedding, that fishing boat you just had to have. It's all those store credit cards you opened to purchase your 50-inch flat-screen TV, the baby's stroller along with a month's supply of diapers, and even lawn fertilizer. All these things fit my definition of bad debt. Why? Because they depreciate, they lose their value and so may be considered liabilities. Remember liabilities, those fun toys and things you consume that eventually consume you? Let's take a closer look and I'll show you why I call what's on those credit cards, store cards, and loans you've committed to bad debt. Ready? Yesterday's groceries, you've already consumed them and they aren't bringing you any money, but now they're on your credit card and you're committed to the debt. The trip you took 3 years ago, you've already taken the trip, stored all your pretty pictures, and hung the lei in the back of the closet. You had a great time, but your vacation isn't making you any money, and you still haven't paid it off. It's a debt that has outlasted the purchase. Your loans for your car, your furnishings, your daughter's wedding, and that fishing boat, all those purchases lost up to 50% of their value as soon as you took possession of them. So now you're stuck paying for things that are worth half of what they were worth when you borrowed money to pay for them in the first place. Think about what that means. The car isn't worth the $38,000 it was when you took out the loan. The minute you drove it off the showroom floor, it dropped to $26,600. But the loan is still for the original price. Oops. The same for your boat. And whatever you borrowed for that wonderful new furniture basically became a loan for second-hand stuff the minute the delivery guys took it off the truck. How depressing is that? Your 50-inch flat-screen TV, the baby's stroller along with a month's supply of diapers, and the lawn fertilizer you bought last year are all liabilities, no money coming in from them, and you've got the debt spread out on a bunch of store credit cards. Types of bad debt: bank credit cards with balances that don't get paid in full, monthly store credit cards with balances that don't get paid in full, monthly bank loans for cars, boats, toys, finance company loans for cars, boats, toys, loans for anything that doesn't make money for you. So, what's good debt? Here's one of Robert's quick definitions: good debt brings in more money than it costs. Let me give you an example. Say you take out a loan to start a business. If that business brings in more money than the loan is costing you, that's good debt. You've borrowed money to make more money. In other words, good debt is debt that purchases assets. And we've just covered the amazing wealth-building powers of assets. Interest: that's not so interesting, in fact, it's downright scary. Let me give you one more example. Let's say you're renting. The way I look at it, you're paying 100% interest on your rent money. How can I say that? Because at the end of the month, what do you have to show for your $1,000? Nothing. Okay, so you've lived in a place for a month, but it didn't bring you an income. You consumed. Your rent is a consumable. It's done. Gone. Let's run the numbers on your car. Let's say you bought a $20,000 car and the bank is charging you somewhere between 8% and 12% and your payment is in the neighborhood of $400 a month. The minute you drive that car off the lot, it's worth $14,000. So now you're making a $400 payment on a $14,000 depreciating asset, or liability. Every month your car is worth less, but your original loan was based on the price of the car before it lost more than a quarter of its value. You're paying on a consumable. That's a no-win situation. 2. The same applies to a trip. You spend $2,000 using a credit card on a vacation, and when you come back you've got nothing to show for it but good times and a memory. But you're still making payments on a credit card. This means you're paying principal and interest on something that's already gone. 3. The same goes for furnishings and other stuff you buy on credit. Say you bought and consumed about $50,000 worth of stuff and put it on your credit cards. Think that's an outrageous number? I bet everybody knows someone who has that much credit card debt or more. But that stuff isn't worth $50,000 anymore. If you sold it through a garage sale you might get $5,000 for everything. Now let's do the math. If this is you, then your credit cards are charging you about 20% interest on that $50,000 of merchandise you've bought. That's about $1,000 a month in payments, or $12,000 over the whole year on stuff that's used and worth only about $5,000. That's over 200% in interest. If you're like most Americans with a rub mentality, you keep acquiring stuff that's going down, down, down in value from the original price, forcing your debt up, up, up. Pretty soon you run out of money and oxygen. As Ogden Nash, a famous American humorist, reminds us, some debts are fun when you're acquiring them, but none are fun when you set about retiring them. Remember, lose liability debt. Acquire asset debt. On the other hand, if you make an investment, even if you use debt to acquire it, now you have an asset. Let's do the math. Say you purchase an asset, in this case, a piece of real estate you buy for $150,000 and on which you pay as much as 10% interest. That's about $1,250 a month. But suppose that asset makes you $1,350 a month in rental income after expenses. Now you've got income of $100 a month. Wait, it gets better. That asset appreciates, and when you decide to sell it you may make even more money. You have something that's worth something. You have something that will create income now and in the future. You have good debt. You're thinking like a rich idiot. Welcome to Debt USA. Right about now you're probably kicking yourself, saying, what was I thinking? I've got a zillion credit cards, a bunch of loans, and I'm in debt up to my eyeballs. Don't feel too bad. You've got lots of company. A few years ago James Grant, an international business consultant, observed, the 1980s are to debt what the 1960s were to sex. It hasn't changed in the new millennium. Just take a look at some of these stats. Prime DebtSoft reports that the average American household has 13 payment cards, including credit cards, debit cards, and store cards. CNN reports that the average credit card debt per household reached a record $9,312 in 2004. That's an increase of 116% over the past 10 years. Fortune magazine reports that the personal savings rate of Americans has dipped into negative territory and was recorded at 0.4% of after-tax household income. A recent study from AC Nielsen revealed that about 1 in every 4 Americans doesn't have any spare cash. The Wall Street Journal reports that 70% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. The shocker is that according to Employee Benefits Trends, this scary statistic fits 34% of high earners, those making over $75,000 a year. A poll from Parenting Magazine revealed that 49% of Americans could cover less than 1 month's expenses if they lost their job. This credit crisis is worse for young women. A survey of 1,400 women done for the online credit information provider MyEquifax found that 10% used more than 50% of their wages to repay debt each month, compared with 6% of men. ClearDebt surveyed 5,558 people suffering serious money troubles. Of those, 45% were women. 1 in 4 of the women was under 25, and 44% of them owed more than their annual take-home pay on credit cards and loans. CardTrack reports that making the minimum payments on a $3,000 balance carrying an 18% APR will take 431 months, almost 36 years, to pay off and cost you $7,511.74 in interest. Debt stress. Let's add something else to the bad debt mix. Any debt that stresses you out is bad debt. Most people in debt focus on interest rates, credit card payments, and dollars and cents. But bad debt carries a second, equally important downside. Bad debt can negatively affect the quality of your perfect life. Debt can add a massive stress burden that can influence your perception of yourself and your success potential and even your health. This type of stress can become all-consuming, filling your thoughts with fears and your spirit with unhappiness. Writing over 100 years ago, Ralph Waldo Emerson painted a picture of the stress caused by bad debt, grinding debt, whose iron face the widow, the orphan, and the sons of genius fear and hate, debt, which consumes so much time, which so cripples and disheartens a great spirit with cares that seem so base, is a preceptor whose lessons cannot be foregone, and is needed most by those who suffer from it most. Think of bad debt as a kind of financial bad cholesterol, clogging up your arteries. Think of good debt as a kind of financial good cholesterol, keeping your arteries clear and open. It happened to me, too, this debt stress crisis. When my properties were hit by a tornado, I had to spend all my cash reserves fixing them up. I was left with absolutely no cash. Every hour, every day, all I thought about was how I was going to pay my bills. I had all this debt. I had mortgages. I had credit card debt. I had living expenses, car expenses, and gas expenses. I had very little money coming in. I was consumed by worry about how I was going to juggle the next bill. That's why I believe that any debt that drains your energy and causes you undue worry is a bad debt and one to be gotten rid of as fast as possible. Debt and Divorce. Linda M. McLeod, writing for Associated Content, says, the number one reason people divorce is money. Not everyone agrees with this. But still, most research puts money in the top 5 reasons for divorce. MSN Money reports, in a study of married couples from 1980 to 1992, 70% reported some kind of money problems. Family and friends debt. Let's not forget the stress that's added to already precarious family relationships when debt is added to the mix. Many of us have borrowed $5,000 or $10,000 from mom and dad, our rich uncle, or a couple of cousins for that next great business deal that never worked out. What happens? Family gatherings are already stressful, add the debt factor and all of a sudden what was a complicated relationship between you and your family becomes super complicated. And the issue never goes away. Everyone has a family debt story filled with anger, resentment, and even years of painful silence between the two parties. This brings to mind a story about 2 very good friends of mine who lost their friendship over a debt. Let's call them Joe and Ed. Joe loaned Ed $5,000 for a business deal. The business didn't work out. Ed never repaid the debt. 5 years went by, and all that time neither spoke to the other. Joe was upset because Ed hadn't paid him back. Ed was furious because he thought Joe was overreacting. More years have since gone by. Both men are now successful. And yet that $5,000 remains unforgiven between them. And the consequences of that are stress, anger, frustration, and the loss of a valuable friendship. In addition, these 2 men could have gone on to make a lot more money together. That $5,000 turned out to be a very bad debt for both. Debt denial. Are you in debt denial? I've worked with a lot of people in foreclosure who were in serious debt. They'd kept borrowing and borrowing, until they were on the brink of losing their homes and everything they had. I can remember banging on the doors of people like this and saying, your house is going on the courthouse steps tomorrow at 10 a.m. It's going to be auctioned off. You're going to be thrown out. I'm here to help you. Let me buy your house. Let's work out something that's going to be win-win. You know how these people responded? Everything's great. Of the thousands of people I've talked to who were facing foreclosure, almost 99% told me that everything was fine. They all believed something was going to happen to save them. The boss was going to double their paycheck. They would win the lottery. Ed McMahon would show up with $1 million check from Publishers Clearing House. They'd win a bundle on the slots, or their $5 lottery ticket would be the big winner. They were in total denial. They needed a debt reality check. What about you? Are you in debt denial? Let's find out. Here are some key warning signs of too much debt. Which ones speak to you? Warning signs of too much debt. 1. You don't have any savings. 2. You make only the minimum payments on your credit cards. 3. Your cards are precariously close to their maximum limit. 4. You use one credit card to pay off another. 5. You have more than 3 credit cards with balances that never get paid off. Let's take your financial temperature. This is scary for many people, but believe me, this is a critical step on the rich idiot pathway. Get out a piece of paper and write down these numbers: monthly payments, your mortgage payment, including taxes and insurance, or your monthly rent payment $________________________ your home equity line of credit or loan payment $_______________________ your car payment $__________________________________________ your credit card payments other monthly loan amounts any other monthly debts total monthly income take home salary any other income total results. If your monthly debts are higher than your monthly income, you are in the red zone and must begin a bad debt reduction program immediately. Ready? Let's get you out of your bad debt, but before we do, I want to say a word about really bad debt. There's bad debt, and then there's really bad debt. And don't panic if this is you. We've all done it. We've all been there. Even me. Even most, if not all, rich idiots. Really bad debt is the money you borrow to pay off your basic bad debt. When I was in trouble and faced tons of bad debt and couldn't make my payments, the first thing I did was run around trying to borrow even more money. I borrowed more against my properties, against my business, against my credit cards. That's a no-win scenario. That's like an alcoholic saying, "Gee, I want to stop drinking, so I'm going to go out and get myself another big bottle of booze." Or like a drug addict saying, "I'm on cocaine and I can't get off it, so I'm going to get myself another big fix tonight and that'll help me shake my habit tomorrow." Duh. Here is a huge Robert rule: debt will not cure debt. But there are ways to get you out of debt. Let's get started right now. Get real first of all. I've got some really good news. In the United States, not paying your debts is no longer a crime except in specific circumstances. In England many years ago, such behavior could land you in debtor's prison. America doesn't have debtor's prisons, so while you may be in financial trouble, ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? I know that fear keeps a lot of you from taking any action. The way I reduce my fear is to look at the worst possible scenario. What if all my real estate holdings went to zero? What would happen to me? I'd still eat. I'd still have a place to live. I'd still have my ability to make money. The first thing you need to do is lose your fear. You can get out of debt. There are lots of ways you can do it. Don't let fear make your bad debt situation even worse. Have fun. You think I'm kidding? I can hear you now, Robert. I'm in such trouble and you're telling me one of the ways to get out of trouble is to have fun? What's wrong with you? Nothing is wrong with me. Your get out of bad debt plan must have as its first objective have fun. Life is a precious gift. Time is the most valuable thing you have, more valuable than all the wealth and riches you can acquire. Every moment you spend worrying is a moment you've destroyed and can't get back. Your debt can and will be managed. Now put a smile on your face. Give someone you love a hug. Congratulate yourself. Feel the relief. Let the joy come in. You're about to get advice on a whole bunch of ways to get out of bad debt and improve your life. Are we having fun yet? Make a plan. You've just finished taking your financial temperature. Now take another piece of paper and write down all the debt you have and where it is. Make a list of every loan and the outstanding amount. Make a list of every credit card that has a balance on it, and the amount of the balance. Now go back and read your credit card statements. You're looking for the interest amount you're being charged on a monthly basis. Write down the interest rate beside each card. Don't worry if the interest rates are different. You'll find that they can vary from 12 to 28%. Take your time. This plan is going to tell you not only where you stand today, but also how quickly you can reduce all those numbers. Make a promise. Follow the 5 credit card commandments. 1. Cut up all your credit cards except one. 2. Resist all attempts to get you to sign up for new credit cards. 3. Never charge food, clothing, or entertainment on a credit card. 4. Pay more than the minimum balance each month until the obligation is paid off. 5. Pay credit cards on time to avoid late charges and interest increases. Do the trash can demo. It's important to have a strong visual picture of just how much credit cards are costing you. Whenever I do this demo with anyone, they never forget it. Go ahead now and try it for yourself. Take out whatever money you have in your wallet or purse. Let's say, for example, it's $100. Take 1/5, or $20, and throw it in the garbage can. That amount roughly represents the average interest payment you're making on any unpaid credit card balance. You're not done yet. Now take another 30% of what was in your wallet and throw that into the garbage can, too. That roughly represents the percentage of what you'll pay in taxes. In other words, half of what you think is your money isn't. Half is going into the trash. Perform this demonstration in front of your whole family. You'll see that garbage can every time you take out a credit card to pay for something, and it'll be a great incentive to reduce the card's usage. Start paying off credit card debt. There are two schools of thought about how to pay off credit card debt. One school recommends paying off the card with the highest interest rate, because that's the card that's costing you the most money. The second school advocates what I call the snowball approach. Here's how it works. Say you have 5 credit cards, all with balances on them. The first has a balance of $10,000, the second $6,000, the third $4,000, the fourth $2,000, and the fifth $1,500. You pay off the $1,500 balance first. Then you take the money you were using to pay off that balance and apply it, along with the minimum payment, to the card with the next biggest balance, in this case, the one on which you owe the $2,000. In that way you pay that fourth card's balance off quickly. You do the same with the third card and then the second. Using this method, you feel like you're accomplishing something every month, and, indeed, you are. Make a call. This is a rich idiot strategy. Learn this skill and you'll be able to incorporate it into all your future financial dealings. I realize that for many of you this is going to be difficult, but I assure you that you can make a lot of money by just picking up the phone and asking for a reduction in either the total amount of debt you owe or the amount of interest you're being charged, or both. On your loan or credit card paperwork there should be, in each case, a customer service number. When you get a human being on the line, ask to speak to someone who has the ability to authorize a reduction in your loan payments or your interest rate. Hang firm. Stay on the line until you get someone who can really make a decision. Here's what you say: I'd like your company to reduce the amount of this debt so I can pay it off. I would also like you to reduce the interest rate and the monthly payments to help me. Chances are good that companies will work with you to reduce either the debt or your interest rate or your monthly payments. When you're talking to a credit card company, you should also let the agent know that you have researched other credit card companies and their interest rates, and you've found that you can do better somewhere else. Often your existing credit card company will reduce its interest rate to match that of a competitor. What's the upside of this strategy? You may have less bad debt to pay off, at a more favorable rate. What's the downside? Even if the agent says no, you're no worse off than you were before you picked up the phone. Go for it. Get a credit counselor. Remember, rich idiots use OP, other people, power. So think about adding a credit counselor to your rich idiot dream team. It doesn't matter that you're in debt. This one step alone will empower you, give you vital information, and add a power player who has the expertise to help you reach not only your debt reduction goals but also your wealth goals. This is also a good strategy for reducing the stress that results from too much bad debt. All of a sudden you have an expert negotiating your debt repayment in a manner that will work in your favor. You've secured relief from creditors' phone calls and dunning letters. You've created a solid plan and obtained the help to implement it. This is rich idiot thinking and acting all the way. Accumulate extra debt repayment money. Sell your stuff. Go through your entire house, including the basement, garage, and attic, and your storage unit, if you have one, and pull out anything that's saleable. Have a huge garage or lawn sale and trade your stuff for extra cash. Anything left over can be sold on eBay, through a consignment shop, or by placing a small ad in your local paper. Sell other people's stuff. Visit your family, friends, and neighbors and ask if they have stuff you can haul away and sell for them. Don't be too proud to explain that this is part of your effort to raise extra money to get out of debt. Offer to do the work and split the proceeds 50-50. Chances are, your family and friends will be so relieved to see you working toward a positive solution, while getting rid of their own unwanted stuff, that they'll let you keep the whole amount you raise. Downsize. This is what I did. And I consider it one of my best decisions ever. Like everybody else, I had a huge overhead. I had an office, a big house, lots of cars, lots of expensive toys. It was fun, but it was also costly. I had to buy all that stuff, maintain it, store it, insure it, and move it. I decided it just wasn't necessary. I got rid of my huge house, the office, most of the toys. The result? Cash to pay off bad debt. Cash to invest in good, asset-based debt. Organize a fundraiser. This is one of the most ingenious, get out of bad debt, strategies I've ever heard of, and the idea was inadvertently hatched in one of my own seminars. A young lady named Amanda came to one of my seminars and she was in debt big time. She listened to me talking about using your creative powers to vanquish debt, and the next day at our follow-up session raised her hand to speak. "Robert," she said, "I just want to tell you that when I sat down in your seminar yesterday morning I was $8,000 in debt. This morning my debt is down to $4,000. I want to thank you for all your help." Well, I was really surprised and intrigued. This was one of the most astonishing, get out of bad debt, successes I'd ever heard of. "Would you like to share with the rest of us how you did it?" I asked. She went on to explain that she simply held her own personal fundraiser. She called her family and friends and asked them to pledge funds to help her reduce her debt. Remarkably, no one turned her down. And from her point of view, the best part of the campaign was not only debt reduction, but these were pledges, not loans, so there was no repayment on her part. Get yourself a get out of bad debt job. Another effective strategy is to take a part-time job and direct the extra earnings toward paying off your bad debt faster. If you look around you may be able to find flexible jobs, such as babysitting or waiting on tables. Tips can help. Get a consolidation loan. Sometimes it makes fiscal sense to take a consolidation loan, which is typically a home equity line at a relatively low rate of interest, and use those funds to pay off higher interest credit cards. Another advantage of a consolidation loan is that this type of financing is generally available over a longer period of time, thus lowering your minimum monthly payment. While I don't advocate getting into more debt, this is one exception, providing you use the equity line to pay off your credit cards, then cut them up. The B word, declaring bankruptcy, can help you wipe out some or most of your debt and offer you a chance to start again. However, it carries heavy penalties. Your credit will be negatively affected, your self-image may be damaged, and you may encounter hostility from creditors who see the strategy as unethical. In any event, this debt-reducing strategy should be undertaken only after consultation with an attorney who specializes in this area. Rich idiots and good debt. Let's do a quick recap regarding good debt and why rich idiots use it to get even richer. Good debt is debt you assume that brings in more money than it costs. Good debt could be a loan you take out to start a business. If that business brings in more money than the loan is costing, that's definitely good debt. You've borrowed money to make more money. In other words, good debt is debt that purchases assets. It could be a loan you take out to purchase real estate, or to invest in stocks, bonds, or mutual funds, or it could be borrowed money you put into savings at a higher rate than the interest rate at which you borrowed it. What's the optimum length of time to carry good debt? This is a great question, and one I'm asked all the time. How long you should commit to carrying good debt depends on your personality and your tolerance for debt stress. If you make decisions based more on economics than emotion, you'll take out a good debt loan for as long as possible. This is how I arrange for my good debt. I borrow as much money as I can for as long as they'll loan it to me, 20 years, 30 years, 100 years, however long I can stretch it. This is a rich idiot strategy. Make sure that your returns are much more than the cost of the debt. If you make decisions based more on emotion than economics and are the type who craves security and worries about long-term financial obligations, you'll want to borrow money for a shorter term. Get over it. This mentality runs counter to the rich idiot mindset. Rich idiot debt thinking. Let's take a peek into the inner workings of the rich idiot money-making machine. There's a little math coming, but it's fun and the numbers will surprise you. Example 1. Rich idiots think of debt as a tool. Let's say you plunk down $10,000 cash for a stock, a piece of real estate, or any investment. And let's also say that every year, that $10,000 brings you a return of $1,000. You've just made a 10% return on your investment. Not too shabby. But it's not really rich idiot thinking. Before you pat yourself on the back, take a look at this. Example 2. Let's say you put down $100 and then go to the bank and borrow $9,900 at a nice interest rate. You've checked and double-checked your numbers and find that your investment still throws off $1,000 a year. For the sake of this example, let's say your loan costs you $800 a year. The difference between the $1,000 you are making and the $800 you have to pay back every year is $200. So now what's the bottom line? You've just made $200 on a $100 investment. Remember, $100 was what you put down, the bank put down the rest. Now your return on your investment is 200%. And there's a bonus: if the investment is one that allows you a tax write-off, you get to make even more money. This is called leveraging. It's how rich idiots turn what you might call bad debts, loans, into good debts, leverage. But there's a caveat. You must really do your research and talk to other rich idiots before you make this kind of investment. Wait till you get the green light. Warning. Rich idiots only borrow money they definitely know that they can pay back. Rich idiots and credit cards. Rich idiots love credit cards. And they use them to make money and get perks. Here's how it works. Generally speaking, some rich idiots use only 2 credit cards. One is for business expenses, the other for personal. Rich idiots run up huge balances on their cards, $25,000 and up every month, but they also pay off those balances in full every month. Rich idiots don't let credit card balances revolve. This strategy gives them free use of OPM, other people's money, for a full month while their money is sitting in an investment making even more money, at the rate of 8, 10, or 18%. The other big reason rich idiots make frequent use of their cards is that most credit cards offer points. The more points, the more free goodies. I travel a lot, so I've got hundreds of thousands of points saved up, which I use for free travel, upgrades, products, hotels, and more. I also give away my points to people who need a place to stay or to charities, which use them to help the less fortunate. Rich idiots and the ubiquitous credit score. Some rich idiots don't care about their credit scores. Of course, a good credit score is nice, but the reality is, rich idiots typically use other people's credit and other people's money, so the credit score doesn't really factor in. Although I have purchased lots of properties, I have not used my credit score to borrow money. Once you learn how to use other people's money and credit, you will probably stop using your own, too. Rethinking the zero. Now that you know the difference between bad debt and good debt, let's end this chapter with a stretching exercise. You've probably been thinking that you need to reduce the number of debt zeros in your life. That's true only if there's zeros attached to bad debt. To become a true rich idiot, you should practice thinking about adding zeros to your debt, your good debt. Here's a story that will show you how thinking past your zeros barrier, or comfort zone, can accelerate your wealth dramatically. A friend of mine owned a small condo for which she'd paid $119,000. It was lovely and she was very proud to be a homeowner. 2 years after she purchased the property, her financial advisor suggested that she purchase a larger, more expensive home. Together they worked out the dollar amount of the house she could own. She was shocked to learn that she could purchase a $750,000 home. Her comfort zone had been in the $200,000 range. But she took the plunge, purchased the new home, and 4 years later sold it for $1,250,000. By adding some zeros to her debt tolerance, she made $500,000. The lesson? Rich idiots think in bigger numbers. Try it. Your rich idiot upside down action plan. 1. Make a list of all your assets. 2. Make a list of all your liabilities. 3. Make a plan to pay off your bad debt. 4. Make a Chapter 8 Still secret number 6 3 deals and you're done. It is a comfortable feeling to know that you stand on your own ground. Land is about the only thing that can't fly away. Anthony Trollope. The asset known as real estate. There's one thing you need to become a rich idiot, and that's assets. Now, as you already know, there are 3 types of assets: real estate, stocks, and your own business. Acquiring any one will help make you a rich idiot. Acquiring all 3 can make you not only a super rich idiot, but a super savvy rich idiot. Why all 3? Because as you've already learned, you need to put your assets into different baskets to keep them safe. That way, if one of your asset baskets breaks and you lose the contents, you've still got lots of lovely baskets filled with lots of lovely assets. Let's look at how neatly real estate fits the asset definition. You'll remember that all true assets share these 3 characteristics. 1. They have value. Real estate has value. It has value with respect to both the building and the land. 2. You own or control them. If you are on the deed or have a lease option contract, you control the property. 3. They provide you with future benefit, aka money. Real estate provides you with future benefits by way of tax depreciation, capital gains, rental income, and appreciation wealth. You can also use leverage to buy real estate without using your own money. You can see that real estate is a powerful asset. It's the one that got me started on my own road to riches, and if this rich idiot could do it, believe me, so can you. Let's begin. Rich idiots love real estate, whether it's my friend Donald Trump saying, "It's tangible, it's solid, it's beautiful. It's artistic, from my standpoint, and I just love real estate," or Susie Orman announcing, "Owning a home is a keystone of wealth that provides both financial affluence and emotional security." There's no doubt that real estate is the favored asset of many wealth experts. You, too, can become a rich idiot, with only 3 pieces of real estate. That's right, just by purchasing 3 properties, your own home and 2 investment properties over 3 years and holding them, you can cash out in 20 years with almost $4 million or in 30 years with over $7 million. And that's with just the most simple, conservative real estate strategy. If you add in more deals and employ more creative wealth-generating investment strategies, you can increase your return and shorten the length of time it takes you to become a rich real estate idiot. Remember, rich idiots get the money first, then the house. Rubs look for the house first and then can't get the money. First, I'm going to show you the dramatic numbers you can achieve with just 3 simple deals. Then I'm going to show you how to get richer faster with some creative acquisition strategies and my own Robert's Real Estate Rules for Investors. As you know, real estate, like any investment, can go up, can go down, or can stay the same. Appreciation, interest, and expense rate can vary. I normally teach people to buy below market values and do research so they are comfortable. These figures below are just examples to illustrate how the process can work. Deal 1. Own your own home. Price you paid $300,000. Term of mortgage 20 years. Interest rate 7%. Appreciation /year 6%. Time frame. Value of property. Amount of mortgage remaining 5 years. $404,655. $257,953. 10 years. $545,819. $180,000. 20 years. $993,061. $0. 30 years. $1,806,773. $0 deal. 2 year first income. Property price you paid $400,000. Term of mortgage 20 years. Interest rate 7%. Appreciation /year 6%. Time frame. Value of property. Amount of mortgage remaining 5 years. $539,540. $343,927. 10 years. $727,759. $240,976. 20 years. $1,324,082. $0. 30 years. $2,409,030. $0 deal. 3 year second income. Property price you paid $500,000. Term of mortgage 20 years. Interest rate 7%. Appreciation /year 6%. Time frame. Value of property. Amount of mortgage remaining 5 years. $674,425. $429,922. $922. 10 years. $909,698. $331,939. 20 years. $1,655,102. $0. 30 years. $3,011,288. $0. 3 deals and you're done, rich idiot. Check out these numbers. Deal 20 years. 30 years. $1,993,061. $1,806,773. to $1,324,082. $2,409,030. 3 $1,655,102. $3,011,288. Total $3,972,245. $7,227,091. Congratulations! You're a millionaire and a rich idiot. Let me just add a word about the numbers I used in these 3 examples. I chose them to illustrate my point, that all it takes is 3 deals. You can substitute other numbers. For example, if your home cost $150,000, your second deal cost $175,000, and your third deal cost $290,000, your result will be different. Similarly, If your home cost $450,000, your second deal came in at $280,000, and your third deal closed at $420,000, those results will also be different. For a quick and simple way to figure out exactly what your own bottom line will be, go to my website, www.getrichwithrobert.com, and use the amortization and appreciation tables provided. 3 deals through a money microscope. Let's take a closer look at these 3 deals and see just how they work. Deal 1, your own home. If you already own your own home, pat yourself on the back. You have acquired your first real estate asset. You've done one deal. You've learned how to negotiate and place an offer. You've applied for and been granted a mortgage. You've successfully dealt with contracts, purchase agreements, and closing documents. You've closed on your first property. You're on at heard of the way to becoming a rich idiot. And now you're eligible for tax benefits such as tax-free capital gains, as much as $250,000 if you're single and $500,000 if you're a couple, on the appreciation of your property. You can sit back for a while and take a break. Remember, practically every lender in America has a program for first-time home buyers. If you're renting from someone else, the first thing you have to do is stop and purchase your own home. Rich idiots don't rent. Rich idiots own. Rent, as you already know, is not an asset. It's a liability. At the end of the lease year, all you have is 12 canceled checks. True, you've had a roof over your head, but it's someone else's roof. They own the asset, you don't. They get the tax benefit of depreciation, you don't. They get the tax benefit of appreciation, you don't. They get the tax write-offs, you don't. They get the equity increase every year as the value of the property goes up, you don't. They get all this and they're not even paying for it, you are. Duh. Every month you send in a rent check is a month you're getting further and further away from becoming a rich idiot, while your landlord is getting closer and closer. It's time to turn this around. Of course there are reasons to rent if you are planning to move in less than a year. Okay, here it comes. I can hear all the protests from the renters right now, but, Robert, I've got no money for a down payment. Or, Robert, I've got lousy credit. Or, Robert, I don't have a job, how can I make my payments? Poor you. As long as you're in the middle of your own pity party, I can't help you. The minute you decide to become a homeowner is the minute you take your first step toward real money. So get over all the excuses and understand this: there are dozens of ways to get your first home without using a dime of your own cash and with the worst credit in the world. Check out the resources on my website, www.getrichwithrobert.com. By the way, if you do get your first home using OPM, other people's money, congratulate yourself, because you've just learned one of the most important lessons in creating wealth. By using other people's money, you don't risk any of your own. Forget that you may not have any to risk, and when you sell or refinance your home purchased with other people's money, your rate of return is infinite. Confused? Don't be. It's simple. As I've said, rich idiots think of debt as a tool. Let's say you plunk down $100,000 cash for your piece of real estate. And every year, that $100,000 appreciates 10%, or $10,000. You've just made a 10% return on your investment. Now take a look at that same real estate investment if you purchased it entirely with other people's money. Let's say you put up $0 of your own and a private lender or a partner put up the entire amount or let you use their credit. Let's also say the mortgage rate you got was 7%. Keeping it really simple, you can use more exact tables. You can see that $100,000 is costing you $7,000 a year. But your property could be going up in value by 10% a year, or $10,000. What's your profit? It's $3,000 a year. What's your return on investment? Infinity. You didn't use a penny of your own money, so any revenue generated represents the best rate of return possible. And as an added bonus for thinking like a rich idiot, you get all the tax benefits due a homeowner. As you'll recall, this is called leveraging. It's how rich idiots acquire assets. By the way, don't think that you can purchase only trash property this way. That's not true. You can purchase any type of property with none of your own capital, from small starter homes right up to million-dollar luxury properties and beyond. So don't worry if you don't possess any money for your first real estate deal. Be happy. Go out and get your first deal done today. Deal 2, your first income property. Now that you have Deal 1 under your belt, you've only got 2 more to go. Deal 2 is going to be your first income or rental property asset. It can be a single-family home or a small duplex. You should purchase this property within 2 years of closing on your first deal. The first thing I want you to do is relax and stop thinking. I know what's in your head. I can practically hear the rub script from here. The noise is deafening. Robert, I don't really need another house. I'm comfortable with just this one. It's manageable. I don't have time to look for another deal. I don't want the hassles of becoming a landlord. I don't want to deal with, my toilet's flooded, calls in the middle of the night. I don't want to worry about finding a good tenant. I don't want to lose sleep over tenants who skip without paying their rent, blah, blah, blah. Listen up. Every single one of those thoughts is rub-think. You're thinking you've got to do all this alone, right? Calm down and just remember your first deal. You had a real estate agent find it for you. You had a banker arrange the financing. You had a lawyer go over the contracts. You had a title company complete the closing. You weren't alone when you did your first deal. Guess what? You won't be alone in your second deal, either. You can use a real estate agent to help you find a great investment property. Your bank will arrange for your financing. Your lawyer will review the contracts, and your closing company will close. Your original dream team is still in place and working for you. The only additions you'll need to make to that dream team with the acquisition of your second real estate asset are a good contractor or handyman to undertake any repairs and a part-time property manager to handle rentals and tenants. Just ask the members of your local real estate investment club or your real estate agent for referrals. If you're worried about how much these folks will cost, here are some guidelines. Generally, these fees are negotiable. Property management ranges from 8 to 10%. A handyman or someone who collects the rent usually charges a basic hourly rate. Many investors find good help in their tenants. Often a tenant will undertake to do basic maintenance, repair, and rent collection in exchange for a reduction in his or her own rent. Stop worrying right now and go back and reread Chapter 5, about OP Power. Let's concentrate instead on the numbers. How much should you pay for your second deal? There is a very simple formula. The cost of your acquisition should be equal to or less than, I prefer less than, the income. Let's flip that around and look at it the other way. Your rental income should cover the cost of your property. The standard costs are the mortgage payment, insurance, and taxes. You also need to factor in approximately 8 to 10% for a property manager, 10% for vacancy, in case you don't rent your property as quickly as you would like, and to allow you a little time between tenants to go in and paint and make any necessary repairs and improvements, and about 15% for repairs depending on the age and condition of the property. These figures can work monthly or annually. As a rich idiot, I like to keep things real simple, so I calculate everything monthly. Guidelines are not to have negative cash flow. Let's put some sample numbers behind this so you can see exactly what I mean. Deal 2: purchase price $150,000, mortgage rate 7%, mortgage payment $1,620 per month, insurance $50 per month, taxes $200 per month, vacancy rate 10%, property manager 8 to 10%, repairs 15%, total costs $2,106 per month. Your total costs are $2,106 per month. That means you need to find a tenant who will pay you at least $2,106 per month. If your $150,000 purchase is a duplex, each unit should rent for at least $1,053 per month. Remember, keep it simple. All real estate is what comes in every month and what goes out. So make sure you double and triple check all the income and all the expenses before you invest. Financing your first investment property generally follows the same rules as those for financing your first property, your own home. Try to use other people's money as much as possible, and check your numbers to make sure you haven't made any mistakes in figuring the cash going out. Also, make sure that the rental income you need is realistic for your area. This can be determined with a quick phone call to a rental company or a simple glance at your local paper. Once you've checked your numbers, go out and buy Deal 2, your first investment property. Deal 3, your second and final income property, but you don't have to stop at 3. Here's your third and final real estate asset acquisition. It should be a larger rental unit, a 4-plex, 6-plex, or small apartment building. You should purchase it within 3 years of purchasing your first property. I'm hearing the panic again. But this is simply more of the same stuff you've already done twice, successfully. Everything is the same. The only difference may be in your financing. When you look for mortgage money for properties that contain more than 4 living units, you fall into the commercial lending category. In fact, this category can be better, because lenders now change their focus. They stop scrutinizing you and your credit worthiness and focus on the property and its real value. From a risk point of view, this is wonderful news for you. When you get approval for a mortgage against a larger property, you can be sure that the lender has checked and double-checked the value, the appreciation, the potential income, and the resale worth of that property. And the more confident the lender is in the deal, the less risk to you. Let's run some numbers for Deal 3 and see exactly how they work. Remember, the numbers I'm using are sample numbers only, so make sure, when you find a property you like, that you follow the same kind of process. Deal 3: purchase price $300,000, mortgage rate 7%, mortgage payment $2,325 per month, insurance $75 per month, taxes $300 per month, vacancy rate 10%, property manager 8 to 10%, repairs 15%, total costs $3,510 per month. Your total costs are $3,510 per month. That means you need to find people who together will pay you at least $3,510 per month. If you have 6 tenants, each unit should rent for $585 per month or more. You're done. That's it. You've just done your 3 deals. That's all you have to do to become a rich idiot. Of course, if you're like most rich idiots, once you get started you're going to want to continue. Why stop at 3 real estate assets? Why not go to 4, 5, 10, 100, or more? No reason. Because with each deal you do, you'll learn more. You'll become more confident, and you'll increase your wealth and reach your perfect rich idiot life much sooner. Pyramid of real estate assets. There's a wide variety of properties you can purchase. For discussion purposes I like to arrange them in a pyramid shape. Single-family houses. This is the largest category and forms the base of my pyramid. These are generally 2 or 3 bedroom homes in a moderate price range. Sometimes they're referred to as cookie-cutter homes. The advantages of these are that they're relatively easy to buy and sell in any kind of market, and there's always a rental market with lots of available tenants. Even in a down market, this classification of single-family homes seems to sell well and even enjoys some appreciation if located in the right area. The primary disadvantage is that they may need more management. For example, you may find yourself with 5 houses with 5 tenants in 5 different and geographically scattered neighborhoods. Duplexes, triplex, and fourplexes. On the second level of our real estate assets pyramid are duplexes, triplex, and fourplexes, all classed as rental properties. The advantages are that mortgage lenders consider properties up to and including fourplexes residential and therefore apply far less stringent lending requirements. In fact, in many instances you can get 100% financing for these. The other advantage of owning them is that they provide some economies of scale, with 2, 3, or 4 renters in the same building. The disadvantages reveal themselves when you want to sell one. The only buyers will be other investors, so now your market is a little smaller. Small to medium apartment buildings. The third level of the pyramid is composed of small to medium-sized apartment buildings. These can contain as few as 10 units or as many as 150. The advantages are more cash flow because of a wider tenant base, the potential for greater economies of scale, and even the addition of a full-time property or resident manager. Lenders also help reduce your investment risk because they scrutinize the property for its income potential before they lend you funds. And, finally, lenders may require as little as 20% down on a property that provides a comfortable cash flow. One disadvantage is that you'll have to come up with a larger down payment, as much as 20%, to get good financing. Also, you'll need a bigger cash cushion to allow for vacancies. And, again, should you decide to sell, your only buyers will come from a smaller pool of more sophisticated investors. Commercial property. At the very top of the real estate pyramid sits commercial property. This includes large apartment complexes, office buildings, strip malls, and storage facilities. A big advantage of owning these real estate assets is that you'll be able to negotiate leases whereby the tenants, particularly corporate tenants, are responsible for much of the management and property repairs. Also, the property generally provides a good cash flow and can sustain the cost of full-time management. The disadvantages are that, once again, your only buyer is likely to be another investor, and should you lose a prime tenant, one commanding several floors of a corporate office building, or an anchor tenant in a strip mall, the property may remain vacant longer. This creates a need for a larger cash cushion to carry you through several lean months or even years. What's a good deal? For a rich idiot, there aren't any distinctions between types of real estate investments. Whether you concentrate on single-family homes, apartment buildings, or commercial property, it always comes down to the numbers. It's all about the numbers. If the numbers work, you've got a good deal. If the numbers don't work, you don't. A good deal means finding a motivated seller who is willing to let you have the property at 20 to 50% below today's market value. Those deals are out there, but most people are not willing to go out and look for them. Robert's rules of rich idiot real estate. Here are some very fast, simple rules to follow as you begin to acquire your own real estate assets. These rules are the result of my own years of experience as a real estate investor and the combined experience of the thousands of people just like you who became rich idiots following these rules. Robert's rule number 1, set a real estate investment goal. There are 3 types of real estate investment goals: short dash, medium dash, and long term. Let's take a quick look to determine which suits you best. Short-term goal: I want to get in and out of a property fast. I need cash in the next 30, 60, or 90 days. I want to pay off some bills. I want to take a trip. I want or need quick cash. I need money to invest in something else. Short-term strategy: wholesale a property, put a good deal under contract, then sell it to another investor and make some money on the transaction. Medium-term goal: my time frame for buying and selling a property is 3 to 18 months. Medium-term strategy: you're going to fix up and hold the property or even rent it out for a short period of time. You're in a strong appreciation market or you buy the property at a big discount and can make money when you sell or refinance at the end of a year. Long-term goal: you purchased a property that you're going to keep for 3 to 5 years or longer. Long-term strategy: this is pretty much always your own home or a rental property. You're planning to hold it and wait until the appreciation mounts up, tenants pay the cost of your investment, or both. At the end of your long-term, you'll decide whether to sell or refinance. What's the right goal and strategy for you? I recommend the simple 3 deals and you're done scenario, covered earlier in this chapter. You purchase 3 properties over a period of 1 to 3 years, hold them, and then either sell or refinance. That's your best rich idiot real estate plan. Robert's rule number 2, buy from motivated sellers. In real estate circles, it's said that you make your money not when you sell a property but when you buy it. The better the deal you can cut at the time of purchase, the greater your profits and your spread between expenses and rental income, and the greater your equity. One of the best ways to ensure that you purchase your properties at rich idiot prices is to purchase them from motivated sellers. Now, when I say motivated sellers, I want to be very, very clear. I'm not talking about taking unfair or unethical advantage of people. I'm talking about buying from folks who have to sell because of divorce, an unexpected move, even a financial setback, but structuring the deal so that both parties win. A student of mine, let's call him Jim, told this great story about a motivated seller at one of my seminars, and I'd like to share it with you. Jim is a 21-year-old real estate investor and likes to buy, fix up, and resell houses. One day he was working on a property when he took a wrong turn and ended up on a nearby street. He noticed a large property that was boarded up. He did a little investigating, and when he went around the back, he found the owner, a woman who was living in a guest house near the property line. They got to chatting and it turned out she was in the middle of a nasty divorce and hadn't made any payments on the house for 6 months. Here was a real motivated seller. Jim, like me, always believes in a win-win deal for both parties. He said, "Let me buy this from you, get you out from under the debt, and put some money in your pocket." She agreed. The property was worth, when fixed up, $1.7 million. Jim bought it for $1.3 million. He spent $50,000 making repairs and improvements. It took him 45 days to renovate, another 3 weeks to sell, and 15 days to close. Total cost, $1,350,000. Total time spent, 81 days. What did the property sell for? As I said, $1,700,000. How much did Jim make in 81 days? A tidy $350,000. Not bad for a few weeks of work. Where do you find motivated sellers? First, look through your own local newspaper for ads that indicate the buyer is motivated to sell. Second, contact local real estate agents to see if they have any clients likely to lower their asking price in exchange for a quick or even cash sale. Third, start attending meetings of your local real estate investment club or association and talk to other investors. Often a property may not suit one investor because of timing, geography, or some other reason but would be perfect for you. Sharing and exchanging information is what rich idiots do to help one another become even richer. Robert's rule number 3, use as little of your own cash as possible. Cash or credit partners use other people's money, as much of it as you can get. This particular concept is very hard for Rubs to grasp and accept. Let me tell you a story that bears on that. I was in my early 20s. I'd been shadowing my first rich idiot mentor for over a year. Finally, I plucked up the courage to purchase my very first property. I put on a pair of clean jeans, and off I went to the bank. Now remember, I came from the kind of home where if you didn't have the money for something, you simply didn't buy it. There were no credit cards. There were no loans. It was cash only. Maybe many of you also come from the same kind of background. Imagine me, this kid, sitting in a bank applying for my first loan. But I was confident, even though I didn't have any money. I figured I had really good credit. Guess what? Wrong. The loan officer typed in my social security number, looked at her computer screen, turned to me, and said, "Sorry, you don't qualify for a loan." "Wait a minute," I protested. "I don't have any credit cards or loans or debt." "That's the problem," she explained. "You have no credit history at all, so you don't get any credit." Was that a wake-up call or what? How was I going to fund my first purchase? Well, I figured if banks weren't going to lend me any money, I'd have to find someone who would. And I did. Now, here's the part that distinguishes rich idiots from Rubs. My new money partner said, "Looks like a good deal, Robert. I'll lend you the money you need, but when you sell the property I want half." It took me only a split second to figure out that half of an asset was better than no asset at all. I grabbed his terms and the property. A few months later I sold it and split the cash with my partner, as agreed. My take? About $20,000. Not bad for a kid with no cash, no credit, and no experience. A friend of mine tells a similar story. She was in her early 20s and had just graduated from college. But she knew she wasn't going to get rich working a job. So she spent 2 weeks looking for a house. This was several years ago, when the asking prices were much lower. She found a house she knew she could fix up and resell. The asking price was $62,500. The owner was willing to take a down payment of just under 5%, or $3,100. It might as well have been $3 million. All she could scrape together was $600. But she got creative. She approached 6 of her sorority sisters and convinced them to each put up $500 for a 50% share in the profits. She put in $100 and kept her $500 for fixing it up. She didn't know it then, but she'd just formed a syndicate. Well, this story has a happy ending. She bought the property, fixed it up, sold it within 60 days for $84,500. She made $22,000. She paid back the initial investment and gave her partners $11,000 to split. She kept $11,000. Not bad for 2 months of work. All too often I talk to people who, after finding a property and getting turned down by traditional lenders, are offered a second chance by a partner who wants half the pie. And what do these Rubs do? They walk away, usually muttering under their breath about the greed of some people. They leave the money on the table. They leave an orphan asset. Who's hurt? The wannabe rich idiot. No money. No deal. No asset. No brains. What's my advice? If you have a great deal, be grateful for a partner willing to let you ride his cash or credit. Do the rich idiot math. Half is better than zero. Got that? Lease option and lease purchase strategies. The lease option and its kissing cousin, the lease purchase, are 2 other successful strategies. The lease option is also called lease with an option to buy. Here's how they work. A lease option is partially a rental, partially a creative financing strategy. You find a property, usually from a motivated seller, and sign a lease for a term of 1 to 2 years, or longer if possible. As part of the lease agreement there's an option clause allowing you to purchase the property during the term of the rental period for a previously agreed upon price. But you don't have to buy it if you decide you don't want to. Why is this a good deal for an up-and-coming rich idiot like you? You don't need any upfront cash, and you can lock in a purchase price while riding the appreciation wave. So should you decide to exercise your option and purchase the property, it will probably have already gone up in price and you'll automatically have greater equity. There's another terrific advantage to you. Often you pay a little extra in rent, but that extra goes toward your down payment should you decide to buy, and it's locked in. So you've already got a kind of forced asset investment program here. Sellers also like this way of selling their property because they're getting rental income and a terrific tenant who's going to take very good care of the property, since they hope to purchase it. A lease purchase agreement is very similar except that you must purchase the property at the agreed upon price at the end of your lease term. Robert's rule number 4. Put together a real estate dream team. I can't emphasize this enough. You are not alone. Once again, in case you didn't hear me the first time, you are not alone. And if you are alone, you're not a rich idiot, you're a rub. Rich idiots, as you already know, get successful through OP the power, time, skills, information, and ideas of others. Acquiring your first real estate assets is one of the best ways to begin building and refining your own dream team. But, Robert, where am I going to find these people, you ask? Simple. The same way you find anybody else, referrals. Ask people. You know that real estate investors meeting you're going to attend? That's a great place to find your dream team. You know that real estate agent who keeps calling you? Another great resource to ask for dream team referrals. You get the idea, right? Now, who's a dream team must have? One or two real estate agents. But be careful. Not all real estate agents understand or have experience in working with investors. Check prospective agents out. Make sure they have a positive track record, understand creative deals, and, best of all, own a couple of investment properties themselves. 2. A good title or escrow company. These are the people who will do all your closings, and they're a huge resource. They can make things go smoothly, iron out any wrinkles, and protect you and your real estate assets. 3. A real estate attorney. No, your cousin isn't going to do it, unless his specialty is real estate. You need someone who understands investment real estate and isn't a deal breaker. Find the best one you can afford. You'll never regret it. 4. A mortgage banker can be a very valuable partner in your strategy for acquiring real estate assets. This is the money person. Find a few good ones. Win their trust. Ask their advice. Keep them on your team. 5. A CPA who gets it. Find one who works with real estate investors and understands all the tax benefits due them. This is your core dream team. As you acquire more properties and tenants, you may want to add a contractor, a handyman, and a property management company. Robert's rule number 5. Make lots and lots of offers. Actually, now that I think of it, this should probably be rule number 1, because until you make an offer, you're a rub. The minute you make that first offer, you've become, at least potentially, a rich idiot. The more offers you make, the bigger a rich idiot you'll become. After you've done your homework, of course. Set your goals. Assembled your dream team. And found your motivated buyers. Then there's only one thing left to do: make an offer. Do a deal. Buy a property. What are you waiting for? Stop reading about becoming a rich idiot. Go out, make that offer, and become a rich idiot. Remember, the more offers you make, the richer you'll get. The next big thing in real estate. One of the characteristics of rich idiots is their passion for discovering the next big thing. Well, the next big thing in real estate isn't real at all, it's virtual. Huh, you say. What do you mean, Robert? Are you sitting down? This is going to astound you. The internet is rapidly becoming one of the fastest growing real estate markets, through special websites that allow users to buy and sell real estate. The real estate is virtual, but the money these rich idiots are making is real. Just a few clicks have brought real estate wealth to thousands. One woman turned $10 into $1 million real estate empire. Others are making impressive profits buying, selling, and developing real estate in virtual worlds like Second Life, Weblo, and Entropia. Mortgage News Daily reports, Second Life doesn't provide information on how many of its 6.5 million residents, now over 10 million, own real estate. Residents may be motivated to acquire land to establish a business, and residents are making real money every month providing goods and services from their virtual offices and stores. I love this whole virtual concept and believe it's going to be the next huge wave for internet entrepreneurs. In fact, come visit me on my very own Rich Idiot Island in Second Life. You'll have a chance to see firsthand how virtual real estate can work for you. Here are some ways other rich idiots have already made real money in the new virtual real estate land rush and how you can, too. 1. Become a virtual real estate mogul. An Shicheng turned a modest investment of $10 into a $1 million real estate empire and became the virtual world's first real estate millionaire in less than 48 months through Second Life, one of the fastest growing virtual worlds, with over 7 million members and counting. Her remarkable story made the cover of Business Week. 2. Become a virtual real estate agent or buy from one. Coldwell Banker is the first major real estate company to open a virtual development, complete with virtual real estate agents, called avatars, helicopter tours of available properties, and free furniture bonuses at closing. The brokerage firm has an inventory of 500 homes in the Ranchero section of Second Life, one of the largest home developments in the virtual world. 3. Buy your own country, state, or city. One of the newest and fastest growing virtual real estate sites is Weblo. Transworld News reports, Weblo is the only parallel universe based on real properties, cities, and states. The site has sparked a virtual real estate boom. California sold for $53,000 US. Florida sold for $18,047. Major cities and properties around the world have sold and resold for profit. The virtual mayor of Seattle sold his city for $2,000 after buying it for $40. Members flip virtual properties just like they do in the real world. A real-world real estate agent owns more than 700 cities on Weblo, including Washington, D.C., and Lake Buena Vista in Florida, home of the Walt Disney World Resort. Current.com reports, he has earned hundreds of dollars off individual sites. Oni user bought Las Vegas for $38, built up the page, and sold it for $430. The buyer then continued to work on the site and sold it for $2,300. 4. Buy and sell international real estate. Harcourt, a New Zealand real estate company, buys land and sells off parcels in the virtual world Second Life, with predicted returns running into 5 figures. 5. Virtual real estate resales. According to BBC News, the virtual property market is booming. A gamer who spent £13,700 on an island that exists only in a computer game has recouped his investment, according to the game developers. The 23-year-old gamer known as Deathifier made the money back in under a year. The virtual treasure island he bought existed within the online role-playing game Project Entropia. CNETnews.com reports on another Project Entropia real estate investor who believes he can bring in more than $1.6 million a year in revenue all on a one-time $100,000 investment. 6. Luxury apartment and condo rentals. Virtual worlds have a thriving resale market in virtual condos and luxury apartments, many of which come completely furnished, feature amenities such as pools and ocean views, and sit on prime virtual real estate. For more information on virtual real estate, go to the next big thing at www.getrichwithrobert.com. Robert's wrap-up. Real or virtual, real estate is one of the 3 pillars of your rich idiot asset acquisition strategy. So go out and buy something. Your rich idiot upside down action plan 1. Write down your real estate. Chapter 9. Still secret number 6. Invest in stock today. A dollar picked up in the road is more satisfaction to us than the 99 which we had to work for, and the money we won at faro or in the stock market snuggles into our hearts the same way. Mark Twain. The asset known as stock. We've talked a lot about assets and liabilities. Again, assets are things you own or invest in that generally go up in value and bring you wealth over time. Stocks and bonds are one of the 4 groups of assets rich idiots accumulate, along with cash, real estate, and a business. Here, then, is the upside-down rich idiot secret to investing in stocks and bonds successfully. Don't wait until you've paid off all your debts, put together a savings account, set aside money for a college fund, and cleaned out the garage. Take $100 and invest it in your first stock purchase, a $100 mutual fund. Do it today. With that first $100 purchase, you've taken a giant step on the road to becoming a rich idiot. What's your excuse for not becoming an investor right now? Are you like those people who sit and wonder what stock to buy, or how to begin? I don't have any money to start, some of these people say. How can I start investing in stocks when I don't have any savings or I can barely make ends meet? Or are you like a lot of other people, those who are overwhelmed by all the terms and financial words, loads, no loads, IRAs, Roth IRAs, and so on, and afraid to act? Of course, over time you'll begin to educate yourself and get comfortable with the terminology as well as the options available to you. But lack of education shouldn't stop you from making your very first stock investment. Systematic, regular, long-term stock investing will make you wealthy over time. The rich idiot knows there's only one question worth asking, and that's, will I start investing today? If the answer is yes, congratulations. You're on your way. Robert's rules for investing in stocks over time. I have developed a few surefire rules and have followed them myself with great success. I share them with you now. They are simple and easy to follow, and they work. Ready? Rule number 1. Losers wait to pick winners. Don't for a moment think you can outsmart the market or the experts. Rich idiots know there are people on Wall Street who have millions of dollars worth of computer analysis tools, reports, charts, graphs, and data. These are the experts. They track stocks day and night across global markets. And then there's you. You've maybe got the newspaper, a computer, and the hot tip the short order cook at your local diner shared with you over breakfast this morning. Forget about it. Now, be aware, all of us want to pick the winner. We've all heard friends say, "Oh, I picked this stock and it went up 400% in a year. Isn't that fantastic?" But we need to remember that, just like in Vegas, people always tell you about the time they won, but they never tell you about the 8 times they lost. If you're a hobbyist picking stocks part-time, you're not going to outsmart Wall Street. Period. Rule number 2. Start your stock investment portfolio today. It doesn't matter how much money you have to invest. $100 will get you into one of dozens of mutual funds. The secret is to do it. To pick up the phone, get online, set up an account, make the investment. Until you actually do it, you're not a rich idiot, you're a rub. Rule number 3. Regular investing over time can make you wealthy. Regular stock investing over time can make you wealthy. Not investing over time will keep you where you are or worse. Get into the habit of logging onto your stock account and sending even the minimum deposit every month. You'll see how quickly your stock investment grows and multiplies. Over time, you'll probably do well, regardless of what class of investment you pick. Rule number 4. Use OP power. Let the pros do it for you. What this means is, don't pick individual stocks. Find yourself a no-load mutual fund or money management fund and let the pros make the stock picks for you. Remember, rich idiots use the power of other people. Nowhere is this more important than in your stock portfolio. Rule number 5. Use OP power. Let the pros do it for you. Again, the same holds true for deciding which mutual fund you're going to invest in. This is where you add a financial planner to your dream team and let him guide you. He'll do an analysis of your resources, but more important, he'll do a psychological analysis to determine your risk profile. He'll help you set an investment goal that fits your needs and the needs of your family. Then he'll guide you to the best investment vehicles that provide the best fit. I have just one word of warning here. Make sure you determine whether your investment advisor is an independent or whether he's associated with a financial organization that sells mutual funds and other financial products. I'm not saying that one is better than the other, but you need to be aware of any hidden agendas your advisor might have. Rule number 6. Never invest money you can't afford to lose. Remember, the stock market can do only one of 3 things: go up, go down, or stay put. So if putting in that $100 means you're going to lose your home if you lose the money, don't invest it. Rule number 7. Invest for the long term, not the quick buck. Your strategy, like the strategy for investing in real estate assets, is to allow your stocks to mature so they can increase in value over time and bring in income. You need to be able to keep your money in your invested assets and allow time to do its work. Whenever a rich idiot invests in the stock market, he or she does it for the long term, to build wealth over time, not for the next 90 days, 6 months, or even year. For a rich idiot, the long term means 5 years or more. As Warren Buffett, the ultimate investor, says, only buy something that you'd be perfectly happy to hold if the market shut down for 10 years. Rule number 8. Be a conservative investor. I have a great story to illustrate this point. I was in training at Goldman Sachs on Wall Street when one day a gentleman came to speak to our class. I was about 25 years old and thought, gee, I'm smart. I'm going to pick stocks and beat everybody and beat the market. I was confident and ready to take some big risks to prove just how smart I was. But this man said something that made a lasting impression on me and dramatically changed my own investment strategy on the spot, a change I never regretted. He was about 65 years old and a billionaire investor. This was a few years ago, when billionaires were few and far between and $1 billion really meant something. This is what he said to all of us young hotshots: Look, a lot of you are young right now. You think you're smart and you think you know a lot of stuff, but you don't. When you get older and wiser with years of experience and see all the stocks that go down and all the risks and all the gambling that people do, you'll at some point in your investment career become very conservative. So you might as well get conservative now and save yourselves 30, 40, 50 years of investment aggravation and stress. Invest in good stocks and good companies. Do it for the long term, because no other investment strategy works as well. And you know what? That guy had $1 billion and I didn't. So as a wannabe rich idiot back then, I decided to take his advice. I got rid of my little penny stocks and funky tip of the week stocks, which had mostly all gone down anyway. I changed my strategy from get rich quick and risky to get rich slow and safe. I was in for the long run. I wanted to build assets like this billionaire. And the strategy has worked for me all these years. Rule number 9, avoid hot tips, they cool off really fast. Let me tell you what happened when my good friend Rich called with a hot tip. Rich worked on Wall Street and was one of the young Turks on the move. I never listened to his tips, and I must admit I did feel a twinge of what if every time I declined. Except this one time. That morning Rich called and said, "Robert, you've got to invest in this one. It's a real winner. It's 7 cents a share, you could buy 50,000 shares and make a fortune." I wasn't completely convinced. "What kind of stock is it? What's the company? What's the stock doing?" I asked. "It doesn't matter," Rich replied. "Just buy it." There was something very insistent in Rich's voice, so this time I took the plunge. I bought 50,000 shares at 7 cents a share and wrote a check for $3,500. Within days it went to 12 cents, then it climbed to 15 cents and then 30 cents, and suddenly it was at 90 cents. I started flipping out. I had just made a lot of money in only a couple of days, and that made me nervous. I called Rich and asked, "What should I do, hold, or sell?" Without hesitation he said, "Hold on. It's going to go to $1.20 a share." "I'm sure it is." This time I didn't take Rich's advice. I got scared, and at 90 cents a share I sold. I made some good money. It was fantastic. My $3,500 investment had turned into $45,000 in just a matter of days. So what happened to the stock after I bailed? Sure enough, the next day it rose to $1.20, just like Rich had said it would. And then it crashed. When it landed it was selling for 8 cents a share. As Ralph Seeger, founder of one of the most successful trading companies of all time, has said, you can never predict when that unknown torpedo will come out of the dark and smash the price of a stock. I got lucky. And I learned my lesson. No more roller coaster rides. I was going to take the billionaire route to riches. Slow and steady wins the wealth. Rule number 10, avoid investing in startup stocks. Here's why: 70 to 80% of startup companies go out of business. Startup stocks are not for rich idiot investors. Generally, the risk outweighs the rewards, and most rich idiots prefer to invest, not gamble. Warning: never invest in anything you don't understand completely. This includes all aspects of the investment you are contemplating. Rule number 11, use the asset allocation strategy for your stock portfolio. In this context, asset allocation means not putting all your stocks in one basket. You shouldn't invest all your stock investment dollars in a single industry or company. You should spread the risk around. If one of your stocks fails to perform or, worse, plummets, you can offset the negative result with positive performances from the others you've purchased. Let me tell you a story about a friend in Nashville who started an internet company and rode the dot-com boom all the way to the top and then all the way back down to the bottom. He started with a $30,000 investment budget and 3 employees. Within 1 year the firm had grown to 200 employees. A few months later he'd raised $80 million. "Robert," he told me one day, "I'm worth over $200 million. He was on the front page of the local paper. He was a huge success. I was really proud of him. I saw him about 6 months later, and guess what his net worth was? 0. At least I got to ride the ride, he told me. I went from 0 to a couple of $100 million to 0 in 2 years, he said. It was amazing. I learned a lot. But he had nothing to show for it other than the ability to give a great seminar on asset allocation. What should he have done? Obviously, he should have taken some of that wealth and put it off to the side. So what do rich idiots know? As soon as they start collecting assets, they take some of those assets and diversify into other assets. There is no such thing as zero risk. Remember, even in the United States, banks were closed and many stocks became worthless. Broad allocation of assets among categories is critical. Rule number 12, invest in tax-free vehicles. When you make money in stocks and bonds, you'll eventually have to pay taxes on your gains, so you want to hold your stocks in tax-free vehicles as much as possible. One of the best ways to do that is to boost your 401k contributions. The same thing goes for self-directed IRAs and pension plans. A good investment advisor can help you figure out which mix of these will work best and assist you in setting them up correctly. Rule number 13. Monitor your stock portfolio. I recommend taking a look at the performance of your stock portfolio every month or once a quarter, certainly every year. Stock portfolio goals are important and need to be monitored. I'm not saying you should make rapid changes, but I am saying you need to be aware of what's going on so you can react accordingly, get advice, or move your investment dollars around. I look at my assets every week. Every business I'm involved in, every asset, I look at it weekly. Every Friday I take 15 or 30 minutes and look at all my inflows and outflows and make sure they're meeting my goals. Rule number 14. Consolidate your accounts. I like to place all my accounts with one brokerage or one bank. You might say, but, Robert, that's not diversification. You'd be wrong, though, because my accounts are diversified and my investments are diversified. Sure, a lot of people get reports from, say, 8 different stock companies and 3 brokerage accounts. I like to keep things very simple. One organization. One report. Rule number 15. Remember OP Power. Use a professional financial planner. I think everybody should sit down with a professional financial planner, even if they're making only $20,000 or $30,000 a year. There are companies that will determine what kind of assets you need to acquire and help you get started. Get an expert to help you determine how to best use tax savings and tax deferral vehicles such as IRAs, self-directed IRAs, pension plans, insurance, and annuities. Also, which asset allocation is best for you and your family to meet your goals. Your Rich Idiot Upside Down Action Plan 1. Make an appointment with a financial planner and keep it. 2. Pick up the phone right now and make your first mutual. Chapter 10. Still secret number 6. Start your own business. My son is now an entrepreneur. That's what you're called when you don't have a job. Ted Turner. Become a rich idiot. Start your very own business. Here's the third asset pillar to support your new rich idiot life. You'll need all 3 to go from rub to rich idiot and stay there. Let's take a quick look at the 3 legs to this rich idiot stool: real estate, stocks, and bonds. Business. Remember assets. Assets are those things you own or invest in that generally go up in value and bring you wealth over time. Your own business, not somebody else's business, is one of those assets rich idiots accumulate, along with real estate and stock. The reality is, most rich idiots who are truly wealthy got that way by starting their own business. If you want to become a rich idiot, guess what? You're going to have to start your own business someday, so you might as well start it right now. I'm hearing that Robert whine again. Forget about it. I've heard all the reasons why starting a business is not a good idea. I've read all the stats about the startup failure rate. I know all the excuses: I don't have the time, the skills, the money, the support, and on and on and on. I've listened to all the naysayers, the economists, the pollsters. For every business startup horror story you've heard, I've heard 10. And you know what? I'm sticking to my rich idiot guns. If you want to be a rich idiot, start your own business part-time or full-time. Period. End of story. Remember, you're always building someone's business. Build your own. Employees don't get to become billionaires. Bosses do. I just spent a really fun hour going over Forbes' special report, the 400 richest Americans, all of whom are worth over $1 billion. You know what I noticed? Not one works for somebody else. There's not a single employee in the bunch. Pretty compelling validation for my own your own business thesis. But I wasn't satisfied just looking at billionaires. I wanted to throw even more proof at you that owning your own business is the way to get rich. Ready? According to U.S. Census data, there are over 4 million households in America with a net worth above $1 million, excluding equity in their own home. The data goes on to show that of these 4 million millionaire households, 30% achieved this success by owning a small business. If 1.2 million American households can become rich idiots by owning a business and over 400 Americans can become billionaires by working for themselves, don't you think you can, 2. There's more proof. Wealth statistics show that it's the self-employed who are America's wealthy. According to information from the latest survey of consumer finances, the average net worth of a family in which the head of the household works for someone else is $65,000. Compare this to $352,300 for the average net worth of a family in which the head of the household is self-employed. What this means is that on average people who are self-employed have their own businesses boast a net worth that's nearly 5.5 times greater than people who are employees. Put another way, rubs have less, rich idiots have more. Which would you rather be? Fail first. One of the most common reasons people cite for not starting their own business is fear of failure. That's crazy, because failure is something to embrace and celebrate. It's one of the most significant upside-down components of starting your own business and striking it rich. Fail first. There's plenty of validation for this surprising point of view. Jude Wanniski, a political economist, wrote, "All success is the result of failure. It takes repeated attempts to succeed before success is achieved. Just think how many times you tried to eat with a spoon before you got the hang of it, let alone a knife and fork." Success, of course, is better than failure, but success is not possible without failure. Business Week took up this theme in a recent article, "How Failure Breeds Success." Everyone fears failure, says the magazine. But breakthroughs depend on it. The best companies embrace their mistakes and learn from them. Practically every major corporation has failed at one time or another, but one of the best examples of celebrating failure is the failure party thrown by Intuit Incorporated. Intuit recently celebrated an adventurous marketing campaign that failed, reports Business Week. The company had never targeted young tax filers before, and in early 2005 it tried to reach them through an ill-fated attempt to combine tax filing drudgery with hip-hop style. Through a website called RockyOurRefund.com, Intuit offered young people discounts to travel site Expedia Incorporated and retailer Best Buy and the ability to deposit tax refunds directly into prepaid Visa cards issued by hip-hop mogul Russell Simmons. The whole project was a flop. What did the chairman of Intuit do to the team that failed? According to the article, in front of some 200 Intuit marketers, the team received an award from Intuit chairman Scott Cook. The chairman realized that to be successful, you will fail sometimes, and the question to ask is, what can I do next time to do it better? Remember, only failures become successes. Failure isn't an option, it's part of your success process. Having the courage to fail isn't just something spouted by the big boys of corporate America. Failure is an integral part of entrepreneurial success as well. Debbie Fields, the founder of Mrs. Fields Cookies, said, "The important thing is not being afraid to take a chance. Remember, the greatest failure is not to try. But there's an even more important part of failure than having one. It's shutting down and never trying again. So you failed at your last attempt to pass a test, lose a size, get a date, start a business, so what? It's only fatal if you never try again. Failure doesn't count," says motivator Frank Burford. If you accept this, you'll be successful. What causes most people to fail is that after one failure, they'll stop trying. So if you've tried to start your own business and failed, terrific. You've gained valuable experience and are now a member of a very elite club, along with every single rich idiot out there. We've all failed. But we all tried again. You're sweating the workout but your boss is getting your six-pack abs. Think of it this way, as long as you're working for someone else, it's like you're at the gym every day doing a major workout. You're sweating. You're doing all the heavy lifting. But all that effort is going to build a great set of pecs or abs for your employer. If you're going to do all that work and put in all those hours, you should be the one getting all the benefits. That's rich idiot thinking. Here's all you need to know about starting your own business. I know there are hundreds of books out there filled with thousands of pages regarding how to pick your business, start your business, capitalize your business, manage your business, expand your business, the list goes on. In fact, there are so many books that you could spend the next 20 years learning all about business without ever starting one. And until you do, you'll never become a rich idiot. It's like riding a bike. You can read about it. You can look at pictures of other people riding bikes. You can go to school and study the physics of motion, the geometry of wheels, and the properties of rubber. But until you climb up on that shiny new bike, you're not riding. You may be a little wobbly, you may need training wheels, you may want someone to run alongside the first few times you get on. But in the end, to be able to ride a bike, you've got to be the one pumping those pedals. There's no other way to learn how. The same holds true for having your own business. There are, however, a few simple things that can get you started right away. Robert's rule number 1, don't do a big, complicated business plan. I have a friend who spent $50,000 on a professionally prepared business plan. It was over 100 pages long and came in a very pretty folder. But what did she really have? She had a $50,000 hole in her checkbook in a bunch of paper. Did she have a business? No. Another said business plan story involves an acquaintance who spent $20,000 in business plan consulting fees over a 3-year period for a business that has yet to get off the ground. In both of these examples, the budding entrepreneurs developed a business plan that was so enormous and complex that they got frustrated even before they began. Me, I follow the KISS approach: keep it simple, stupid. I've launched several successful businesses. I've partnered in many successful businesses. And I have one simple rule about business plans: keep it simple and brief. In fact, the specific business plan I used to launch my first real estate empire is shown on Chapter 10. It's the model I've used for every business I've launched since then. It has only 5 parts. It's all you'll need. Go ahead, feel free to use it yourself. Oh, and one more thing. If this format takes you longer than an hour to flesh out, you're still in rub mode. Let's walk through each one of these 5 elements so you can see how simple but powerful they are. Also, you should know that when I started out I had a full-time job. I was working for somebody else just like you. If I could find the time to start a business, so can you. Mission statement: the first thing to write down is your mission statement. This is where you really get to think about your values. About what's important to you. What you stand for. This is where you get to write down your dream, your vision. Your mission statement should always be about more than just the money. As Henry Ford, one of the greatest entrepreneurs, said, "If money is your hope for independence, you will never have it. The only real security that a man will have in this world is a reserve of knowledge, experience, and ability." Like Henry says, don't make it just about the money. Robert's one-page Rich Idiot business plan. My mission statement: I want to provide quality low-income housing, treat my tenants like valued customers, and make an ethical profit. My time commitment: I'm going to stick with my plan to do real estate for 5 years, no matter what happens. My goal: I want to become financially independent by obtaining 10 properties within 3 years. My activities: I'm going to call 10 to 20 investors a week. I'm going to take one investor to lunch every week. I'm going to meet 2 new investors every other week. I'm going to call 5 to 15 deal makers and make 2 offers a week. My schedule: Wednesdays 4 p.m. to 7 p.m., Saturdays 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., and Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday evenings for 45 minutes. Time commitment. Next, write down your time commitment. You have to set a time limit on your efforts. You've all heard the saying that an overnight success takes 20 years. Well, the good news is that it doesn't take 20 years, but it does take more than 10 minutes. When I declared, "I'm in this for 5 years," that was one of the smartest things I ever did. Here's why: for the first month nothing much happened. I kept at it. Nothing much happened for the first year. I still kept at it. Nothing much happened for the second year. Like the Energizer Bunny, I just kept on going, following my one-page plan. By year 3, people started calling me. Opportunities started landing in my lap. My business took off. I was on my way. It takes time to build up momentum and get things going. That's why specifying a time horizon is so critical. It forced me to give my fledgling business the necessary time to grow and flourish. Remember, money is time. Most people set unrealistic time goals for themselves and their business. Then when they can't achieve them, they quit. But, often, after you've been doing something for 1, 2, or 3 years, there's liftoff. That's when people start noticing and saying, "You're so lucky, that deal just fell into your lap." Well, it's not luck. It's harvest time for all the seeds you've planted over a long growing season. During a startup's beginning weeks, months, and years, rich idiots are getting smarter, stronger, better. When riches come, they're ready for them. Financial goal. Next is your financial goal. Make it as specific as possible, and always add what you're going to do to achieve it. It's pointless to write, "I'm going to make $1 million, unless you also spell out how you're going to do it. Are you going to buy real estate or stocks, bake a zillion pies, buy a commercial airline? What exactly are you going to do? Activities. You can't skip the 4th step, planning purposeful activities. This is important. One of those Forbes billionaires, 48-year-old Mark Cuban, was asked, "What's more important, the idea or the execution?" He didn't hesitate. Execution. Everyone has ideas. You must do something every day to bring you closer to your business goal. For business, this is where the rubber meets the road. Without a plan of action, all you'll ever have is great ideas, you and the other millions of rubs out there. With a plan of action, you're in rich idiot territory. Remember, idea equals rub, idea plus action equals rich idiot schedule. The final element of the business plan I'm advocating is discipline. You have no boss. There's no time clock to punch. It's up to you. You must set hours and stick to them. When you add up the number of hours you typically have to spare every week for building a business, you'll be surprised to see that it's about 7 or 8. Most people think you need hundreds of hours to launch a business. Not true. You can launch a successful business in just an hour a day, but it's got to be every day and a full hour. You know, there were many times during those first critical years of my business that I felt like quitting. I endured a lot of bad days. But I regularly pulled out my plan and reread it, reaffirming my 5-year commitment. I can't tell you how glad I am that I stuck with it, that I did it every day, and that I stayed true to my mission statement and my goal. Here's the scheduling form I developed to track my own time. The only true asset you have in life is your time. How are you spending it? I like to track my time for business in 15-minute increments. Robert's time tracking form: activity time spent. Has it or will it make money? How much? Do I enjoy doing it? Can I get someone else to do it? Underscore 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 and so on. Robert's rule number 2, focus. I get calls every day from the students I coach, and here's what a few of them might say: "Robert, this stuff doesn't work. I'm not making any money. I'm frustrated. I'm upset. What activities are you doing?" I ask, with heavy emphasis on the word activities. But I know the answer even before I hear their list, a list that could choke a horse. I've been really busy. I'm working all the time. I've been reading your book. I read it 3 times, Robert. I met with 12 people, like you said. I went to a bunch of meetings. I went to a training session. I set up my office. I read the paper and circled 10 ads. I made my 5 phone calls. But I'm telling you, nothing's working. Have you bought anything? Have you sold anything? I ask. Until you actually make that offer, sign that client, sell your product, or buy that piece of real estate or stock, nothing is going to happen for you. At the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, is what I'm doing purposeful activity, something that's making me money, or is it busy work? One of the businesses I entered into was a network marketing company. I got the idea of focusing on activities that were quickly profitable. If I signed people up and sent in the paperwork, I got a great big fat check. If I didn't sign people up and send in the applications, no money arrived. What was my focus? I didn't spend hours studying compensation plans, making endless to-do lists, going to meetings, or organizing and reorganizing my paper clips. Rather, I focused on signing people up. What are you spending most of your time doing? Make yourself a time log and write down everything you do, hour by hour, for a week. I guarantee that you'll be shocked at how much time you are wasting on activities that aren't bringing you any closer to your rich idiot goal. That's what rich idiots do. They focus. What's your focus? If you don't have one, you'll be stuck spinning your wheels, doing stuff, and never making rich idiot-sized money. Robert's rule number 3, what is doesn't matter, what matters it is that you love it. Bob Dylan got it right when he said, a man is a success if he gets up in the morning and gets to bed at night, and in between he does what he wants to do. I'm asked all the time, Robert, what's the best business for me to start? And my answer's always the same, the best business for you to start is the one you love. Think about what you love to do, then do it. It doesn't matter if your specialty is coffee like Starbucks, burgers like McDonald's, jewelry like Cartier, watches like Rolex, or flowers like 1-800-FLOWERS. As Anita Roddick, founder of The Body Shop, says, success to me is not about money or status or fame, it's about finding a livelihood that brings me joy and self-sufficiency in a sense of contributing to the world. Right on, Anita. For those of you reading this, the lesson is as follows, find yourself something to love, success and money will follow. It surely came to my friend and old neighbor Garth Brooks, the famous country singer. Now he's sold more records than almost anyone but the Beatles and is one of the most successful artists of all time, yet he started out working in a boot store in Nashville. Back then he told everyone that his passion was music. He measured feet and stacked boxes, and all the time he kept saying how his one big love was songs. He went to over 20 record companies with his own compositions and was thrown out of each, not once but 3 and 4 times. Didn't matter. Garth knew what he was going to do and stuck with his passion until he became a success. What's your passion? What's that one thing you'd love to do even if nobody paid you to do it? That's your answer. That's the business you should start. Let's take a break and look at your job vs. your own business scenario. I can hear all of you right about now. You want your own business so badly, but you've still got that employee mentality. Robert, I'd love to start my own business, but I need my job. I've got tenure. I've got 15 years invested in the company. I'm up for a promotion. I've got my pension. I've got job security. And you know what I say? There's no such thing as job security. It doesn't matter how many years you've got invested, what kind of a promotion you've been promised, or how much your boss respects you. The reality is, you could lose your job tomorrow. It happens all the time. Your company goes under or gets sold. Your boss gets fired and office politics dictate that you follow him right out that door. The pension fund goes bankrupt. Call it what you want, downsizing, asset redistribution, re-engineering. The result is the same. One day you have a job, the next day you don't. That's not what rich idiots call security. Job security rich idiot style is you at the wheel, in control of your income, your life, and your future. That's real security. Remember, you are the only job security you've got. Robert's rule number 4, revenues lead expenses. What does this mean? In rich idiot speak, it means don't spend what you don't have. You don't need that fancy desk, huge office, or 10 employees, at least not until your business is making a ton of money. What do you need? Let me tell you what I've got, and I'm making millions. I've got a cell phone, a laptop, a home office, and an assistant. That's it. I subcontract and joint venture almost everything. I can run my business from South Beach, New York City, South America, a cruise, and so can you. Robert's rule number 5, don't work hard. I'll go even further than that and say, if you work too hard, you're a rub and will stay a rub. Rich idiots regularly take time off from their business. They schedule a day or a week where they can go off by themselves and think about where they are and where they're going. When was the last time you took a day just to think about yourself, your needs, your plans? If you haven't taken a mental retreat in the past 30 days, you've got my permission to go do it. That day or week off will do more to help you become a rich idiot than all the 60 or 80-hour weeks combined. You'll come back refreshed, restored, and invigorated, and so will your business. The other part of the don't work hard rich idiot business formula is this: if you can't leave your business for an extended period of time, you're not yet a rich idiot. If you leave for 3 months, will your business crash and burn? Will it be there when you get back? Can your business run without you? Remember, it's not how hard you work. It's how smart you work. I learned this lesson in a very unusual way. I was busy building up my business, working hard and giving it my all. One day my wife, who was from Europe, where everyone takes 4 to 6 week vacations, told me she'd booked us on a flight to visit her family for a whole month. Nothing I said would get her to change her mind. We were going, and that was it. So I found someone to answer my phone, someone else to pick up my mail, someone to pay my bills, and someone to take the deposits to the bank. Now, here's the weird part. I was worried sick that I'd come back and find I had no business left, that I'd have to start all over again. But guess what? I made more money that month than I'd ever made, and things were running more smoothly. Now I regularly take off 3 or more months, and my business is flourishing. If I can do it, so can you. Remember, reward yourself for every success, no matter how small, along the way. Out of this world you don't have to limit your business to this world, you can make money in the virtual world, too. Remember how we talked about virtual worlds such as Second Life in Chapter 8? A virtual world is an online world in which you can buy and sell stuff, start any kind of business, make money, and never leave home. Virtual worlds are springing up all over the internet, so they're simply a click away on your own computer. And the best part of these virtual worlds is that you can make real money. Take a look. According to The Next Big Thing, by EMK, people spend over $1.5 billion on virtual items every year, buying and selling virtual goods such as furniture for virtual houses and clothing and jewelry for their digital alter egos, also known as avatars. They party at virtual clubs, gamble in virtual casinos, travel in virtual cars, and buy and sell virtual real estate. And all this virtual stuff is paid for with real-world money. As previously mentioned, Second Life is one of the fastest growing virtual worlds, with almost 10 million residents and a growth rate in the double digits. Millions of dollars change hands on this economic platform every month. Tencent, one of the largest internet portals in China, with over 250 million active user accounts, generated over $100 million in the first quarter of 2007. Incredibly, over 65% of this revenue came from virtual goods. Gaia Online conducts over 50,000 person-to-person auctions and organizes 1 million message board posts a day, making it the third largest auction site and the second largest message board on the internet. In addition to garnering massive credit card sales, it has a staff of people whose only job is to open envelopes filled with cash payments for virtual products. It's estimated that the number of virtual worlds doubles every 2 years, so there are literally millions of new opportunities for building businesses. And you don't have to be a geek or even computer savvy. Just do it. I could finish with long checklists of things to do before starting your own business, including rules to follow, forms to fill out, consultants to consult, and so on, but I'm not going to. You've already got everything you need. You've got the passion, the drive, the desire, and the information. You've also got me, Robert, your rich idiot friend, mentor, and ally. You've got my entire team to help you. You've got my website, www.getrichwithrobert.com, to supply you with huge daily doses of information and inspiration. You've got it all. The only thing left for me to do is tell you to start. Right now. Just do it. Rich Idiot Upside Down Action Plan 1. Write your simple business plan. 2. Decide what business feeds your Chapter 11 Secret Number 7 Act. The best way to predict the future is to create it. Peter Drucker. Remember these rich idiots? Back at this book's beginning there was the guy who whizzed past in a brand new Cadillac or Porsche, flashing his Rolex. You recognized him as the idiot who'd flunked out of your school, while you'd studied hard and earned straight A's. Remember asking, as you sat in your 8-year-old car, checking the time on your knockoff watch, if I'm so smart, how come that idiot's rich and I'm not? Want to know the answer? Because that guy wasn't really worried about straight A's. After he flunked out he got a job waiting tables. He smiled a lot. He got great tips. The day you graduated high school he bought his first duplex. The day you received your 10-year corporate pen he was already retired. What made him a rich idiot? Action. Remember picking up your local newspaper and recognizing the guy in the photo as that kid who couldn't make change? Now he's all grown up, shaking hands with the governor and running a billion-dollar company. You, on the other hand, always got your sums right. But the only person who ever shakes your hand is the greeter at Walmart. Remember asking, if I'm so dependable, how come that idiot's rich and I'm not? Want to know? While you were busy with your math homework, this kid got a bunch of his loser friends together, set up shop in his old man's garage, and started churning out computer programs, talking to venture capitalists, and making sales. What made him a rich idiot? Action, again. Remember the moment when you realized that the guy giving that seminar and tossing $100 bills into the crowd was the son of your mom's neighbor in Queens. He was that lanky kid with the baggy pants who was always borrowing money off everyone because he never had a dime. Remember wondering how he ended up with all the money and you ended up trying to make ends meet every month? Want to know how that happened? He got really good at borrowing. He borrowed himself into his first piece of real estate, then into his first business. He became skilled at using OP power. He asked for money. He asked for better deals. He asked for help. He took action. What did you do? How about this one? Remember reading that story in People magazine about the kid you used to babysit? The one whose clothes always clashed, who now owns an online fashion empire. Remember wondering, how come that idiot's got this terrific creative full life, and I'm standing at the checkout counter worrying about the price of a couple of magazines? Let me tell you why. She spent her nights creating her designs and her days stitching them into something tangible on her mother's old sewing machine. She took her creations around to every design studio and store in Manhattan. When they slammed the door in her face, she learned how to set up a website and started selling on the internet. What was her secret? She took action. She did whatever was necessary to make her dream come true. Remember how thrilled you were to be promoted to vice president of something or other until you recognized the keynote speaker and his family at your company's annual meeting. He never made it through school, and she got pregnant and dropped out, too. Now they've got this great family in an international philanthropic organization. They give away more in an hour than you earn in a year. Remember asking, if I work so hard and I'm so smart, why is the universe doling out these lavish gifts to people who broke all the rules? I'm guessing that by now you know the answer. These people got an idea and then they acted on it. That moxie is what all rich idiots have. That's their biggest secret. It's not that they had the best idea. It's not that they got all the breaks. It's not that they could call on support, or possessed a great education or a trust fund. No. What they all had was a conviction that they needed to take action. Nobody really knows what's going on. I know that a lot of you never take action because you're afraid you don't know enough, you're not ready. So what happens? You spend months, even years preparing yourself, learning, researching, and trying to anticipate every single thing that could happen. Why? Because you don't want to admit how much you don't know. You don't want to look like an idiot. But guess what? That's exactly what you look like when you don't act. I want to reassure you about something and erase your fears. Rich idiots don't know everything. In fact, most of the time they don't know what to do at all. But they take their best shot anyway. I'm going to tell you a story, and I hope I don't get into trouble for it. It was told to me by the chairman of one of the most powerful financial organizations on Wall Street. The incident happened in the late 1980s behind closed doors, and it involved a dozen of America's most prestigious banks and financial institutions and the powerful men who ran them. My friend was one of those men that day. The stock market was crashing. The American economy was in trouble. So the Federal Reserve Chairman arranged for the heads of the 10 most important banks and investment houses to be on a conference call with him early the next morning, to decide what to do. Think about this, an all-star gathering of experts from California to New York in their offices at the crack of dawn to save the country. All except my friend. He left home in plenty of time to get in on the call, but when he arrived at his office he found he'd forgotten the security garage remote control and couldn't get into the building. You'd think this guy would be organized enough to remember a little thing like a clicker. But no. So now he's sitting in his car waiting for someone to come along and open the underground garage. He finally entered the building and got on the call. Here's how it went. "Hi, Harry, what do you think we should do?" asked the chairman of the Federal Reserve. "Don't have a clue, Mr. Chairman," replied Harry. "How about you, Chuck, got any ideas?" "Wouldn't want to say," replied Chuck, the head of one of the biggest banks in the country. "Edward, let me hear what you think." "Well, if the truth be told, I'm not thinking much." And that's how it went, around and around the conference call, with not one rich idiot having a clue about what to do. Until finally somebody said, "Hey, let's just, put some more money into the system and hope it works." Thank God somebody made a decision and took some action, because it did work and stability returned to the financial markets. My purpose in telling this story is to show that even rich idiots don't know what they're doing sometimes. They're making it up as they go along. Just like everybody. Just like you. But there's one striking difference. You think the heads of corporations, the best, the brightest, the smartest who are in control, know exactly what they are doing. Sometimes they don't, but at least they make a decision and take some action. Rich idiots do something. They take action. These experts were faced with something they'd never encountered before, and they had to take action. At first, just like everybody typically does, they said, "We don't know what to do." But even not knowing, they did something. They acted. Are you frozen? Worried that you don't know what to do? It doesn't matter. Just act as if you do. Even rich idiots were scared the first day of kindergarten. I want to tell you how I conquered my own fear and finally summoned up the courage to take some action. It's a story about kids in kindergarten and law school. I'll never forget my first day of law school. Yes, I finally got in. Don't ask me how I made it. Anyway, it was the first day and there were about 400 of us, the best and the brightest, all scared to death. Then Dean Epstein, a world-renowned lawyer and teacher, rose to address the class. "Hey, everybody. I want you all to relax," he said in his Texas drawl. We sat there all thinking, yeah, right, we're not going to relax again until the day we graduate, 3 years from now. The fact was, every one of us was terrified. We were afraid the workload would be too heavy, afraid we wouldn't be at the top of the class, afraid we'd be ridiculed by our fellow students, afraid we'd flunk out. This was one quivering mass of frightened law students. "Do you remember your first day of kindergarten?" asked Epstein. "Remember how you clung to your mother's hand because you were scared to death? You were terrified you wouldn't make it through kindergarten. But you know what? You made it through. You went on to elementary school, same terror that first day. Then there was the first day in the big leagues, junior high, and more fear. Then you went on to high school. Remember how scared you were that first day, looking at all those huge seniors. Then suddenly you were a senior yourself. Then you were back to being a frightened freshman in college, and now here you are, experiencing another first day, and you're scared all over again. But I can get you over your fear. Just think of it as the first day of kindergarten, only 17 years later. You made it through then, and you'll make it through now." You could hear a collective sigh of relief from 400 first-day law students. So if you're scared to act because it's all new and unknown, ask yourself this: am I better at my job today than I was the first day I was hired? Trust that you'll get better at investing, better at real estate, better at starting and running a business, better at becoming a rich idiot the more you do it. John Lennon may have said it best: "The unknown is what it is." Accept that it's unknown, and it's plain sailing. Take care of yourself first. Here's an important and very upside-down principle: when you act, act to take care of yourself first. Pay yourself first. Rest yourself first. Reward yourself first. If you don't take good care of your primary asset, you won't be able to take care of all the other people who will come to depend on you as you become more and more wealthy. I learned this self-love lesson the hard way. I'm your typical rich idiot. I love what I do so much that I was working non-stop, helping people, managing my charities, traveling all over the world speaking, running my businesses, and buying and selling properties, until one day my good friend and doctor, Richard Hirsch, asked, "Robert, do you like to help people?" "You know I do," I answered. "How would you like to help people for another 20, 30, 40, or 60 years?" "That would be terrific," I replied. "How do I do that?" "By taking better care of yourself right now," he shot back. "By not taking care of yourself, by not putting your own health and rest first, you're shaving valuable years off your life. If you're dead from stress and overwork, you're no use to anyone. Think how many more people you could help if you lived a longer life." I finally got it. By taking care of myself, I was going to be able to take better care of others for a lot longer. I had never looked at it that way. Like most of you, I was raised to believe that putting yourself first is somehow selfish. But rich idiots know that putting yourself first is a purely unselfish act. So do it. Start taking care of you, right now. Act on it. Start at the end. Here's another piece of rich idiot upside-down wisdom: start at the end. Rich idiots always begin every project, every investment, and every action with the desired result in mind. It's clear outcomes you want. You must make sure that your destination is reachable. Ask yourself these 3 critical questions. 1. What result do I want? 2. Is the result possible? 3. How badly do I want it? Here's what I do. I decide on the result I want from every single activity. If I'm going to make a phone call, I decide what I want to have happen by the time I hang up. If I'm going to a meeting, I decide what I want to have accomplished when the meeting is over. I also determine whether what I want is possible or just pie in the blue sky. Am I in the ballpark or way out past left field? Can I accomplish my goal in a reasonable amount of time? What other resources besides myself will I need to bring in? Sometimes the answers aren't what I'm looking for, so I adjust and begin the process again. Finally, I ask myself how badly I want the result. Do I really want to close on that deal? Is that property the right one? Have I asked my dream team for advice on a particular investment? Do I like the person I'm about to go into business with? If there's the slightest hesitation or uncertainty, I move on to the next project, the next outcome. But no matter what I'm working on, I always act with the end in mind first. What result do you want? Is your answer, I want $10,000, $100,000, $10 million? It's good to dream big, but you also have to be realistic. If you're making $45,000 a year now, your chances of making $65,000 in a year are really good. So are your chances of making $75,000. Making $90,000 or even $100,000 is still in the realm of possibility. Is the result possible? Can you go from $45,000 to $10 million in a year, in 2, in 3? Making a large sum like that is still possible, but a bit more of a stretch unless you give yourself a realistic timeline. Work up 6-month, 1 year, 5-year, and 10-year plans. Look at the short and long-term realities and act accordingly. How badly do you want the result? If you don't want the outcome with every fiber of your being, you won't get it. So decide and then act. Remember, there's one more thing to talk about before you race for that outcome, your frame of mind. You have to relax. Lose the fear. Lose the stress. Replace it with passion, desire, and faith, which will grow with each action. Pick an activity. Look at the word activity. What are the first 3 letters? Act. So go act. Do something today. Do something tomorrow. Do something the day after. Simple actions over time will get you to your goal. Now is the time to remember all those old sayings, ones like, the longest journey begins with the first step. Take your first step. There's another line I like, how do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. Take your first bite. That's where rubs go wrong. Rubs focus on the goal. Rich idiots focus on the activities that will get them to their goal. Everyone's got goals. So why doesn't everyone reach them? Because it's not about the goal, it's about the activity to get to that goal. Got it? Do what I do. Every night before I go to bed I make a list of 2 or 3 activities I'm going to do the next day, activities that will bring me that much closer to my goal. For example, suppose you want to buy your second piece of real estate. That's your goal. What are you going to do tomorrow to make it happen? What activities are you going to undertake? You could buy the newspaper and call about 3 or 4 likely properties. You could visit a bank and fill out the necessary paperwork to get pre-qualified for a mortgage. You could make an appointment to interview a real estate attorney specializing in rental properties. Or you could act on all 3. Get a grip, take control of your money life right now. Write down all the money you have coming in and all the money going out. No matter how dark the picture, it's so much better to know than not to know. Rich idiots aren't afraid of bad news, they're afraid of no news. Next, take action to fix whatever's broken about your finances. Finally, get organized. Get a file box and organize your important financial papers, your will, your insurance policies, your titles, any power of attorney, your trust documents. If you don't have something, contact your attorney or prepaid legal. You'll find this organization on my website, www.getrichwithrobert.com, to get it done. Put your financial house in order, even if it's a really small one-room house. Act as if you had millions to manage and you eventually will. Reward and adjust the minute you achieve a goal or complete an action. Reward yourself. That's huge. Not everyone gets to this stage. If you are not getting the results you hope for, don't give up. Adjust the goal and adjust the activity. Rich idiots don't get to be rich idiots by following a straight path, they zig and zag before they get to true riches. Cut yourself some slack, don't be so hard on yourself. Remember, you're learning. Getting rich is a process. For example, when I make an offer on a property and get rejected, I'm not upset. Rather, I'm happy because I realize I didn't offer too much. All information is feedback. All feedback is good. I've started businesses that failed, but afterward I sat back and said, great, let's see what you've learned and what you can apply to your next business. I've had real estate investments and stock investments that didn't pan out the way I'd hoped, but I sat back and said, good job, Robert, let's see what you learned that you can apply to your next investment. When I first started out I had to make a lot of cold calls. I hated cold calling. But I knew that for every 100 calls I made, 10 people I connected with would buy from me, and those 10 meant sales, income, and bonuses. What did I do when 30 or 40 people slammed the phone down? I said, hey, Robert, you're 40 calls closer to your 10 sales. That's the rich idiot mentality. Keep on keeping on, enjoy the journey. Don't get discouraged. Most rubs try something once and when it doesn't work out, they curl up in a little failure ball and never try again. But the fun is in the trying. The fun is in the game. Talk to any rich idiot and they'll tell you. The best part of the wealth, the billion-dollar business, the multi-million-dollar stock portfolio, the apartment complexes and shopping malls was the challenge of making it happen. It was the getting there. You've stayed with the book this long, so you're in the game already. Just keep going after you've turned the last page. Because that's when your real fun will begin. Let me tell you, that's going to be the best ride of your life, your ride to riches. Remember, as I've been told by some of the world's great spiritual leaders, whom I've had the privilege to meet, people are far too hard on themselves. So feel good. Enjoy it all. The surprise ending. I have one last secret for you. It's in the answer to a question I'm about to ask you. Get it right and you're on your way to becoming the next rich idiot. Get it wrong and you stay a rub. Ready? Here's the question. There are two people reading this book. One is going to remain a rub and one is going to be the next rich idiot. What's the one thing that will make the difference? Turn the page for the answer. The one who's still reading is the rub. The one who's already taken action or is going to take action is the next rich idiot. Which one are you? 30 rich idiot actions. Here are 30 immediate actions to follow, gathered from every single chapter of this book. Perform one a day and in just 30 days you'll be closer to your rich idiot dream. 1. Design your perfect life, that's your map. 2. Build your first dream team. 3. Forgive others. Forgive yourself. 4. Practice getting and receiving. 5. Practice giving generously. 6. Express gratitude for all that you have and all that you will have. 7. Believe in the abundance of the universe. 8. Write down your one goal. 9. Write yourself a wealth check. 10. Write your mission statement. 11. Live rich today. 12. Make a wealth wall. 13. Look for found money. 14. Lose the toxic people in your life. 15. Take an inventory of your assets. 16. Take an inventory of your liabilities. 17. Make a list of your bad debt. 18. Make a plan to pay off your bad debt. 19. Make a list of your good debt. 20. Make a plan to acquire more good debt. 21. If you rent, buy your first house. If you own a house, buy your next one. 22. Buy a mutual fund. 23. Write your simple business plan. 24. Write down what you love to do, then do it. 25. Decide on the outcome you want. 26. Write down 3 activities you'll do every day to reach your goal. 27. Commit to a realistic time frame. 28. Write a schedule for yourself and keep to it. 29. Make a blessings list and say thank you for each one. 30. Have fun. What do you do next? Visit my website, www.getrichwithrobert.com, and find out. Chapter 12 Bonus Secret Number 8. You're rich already. If only the people who worry about their liabilities would think about the riches they do possess, they would stop worrying. Would you sell both your eyes for $1 million, or your legs, or your hands, or your hearing? Add up what you do have, and you'll find that you won't sell them for all the gold in the world. The best things in life are yours, if you can appreciate yourself. Dale Carnegie. You've already got riches now. Let me explain this. You may not feel rich right this minute, because you have responsibilities and rent or mortgage and car payments and all that stuff, but look at the big picture. You know, in the space of gratitude nothing else can exist. Be grateful for what you have. If you're grateful for what you have, you'll feel wealthy and the universe will smile on you. The reality is, you really are rich already. Think about this. A lot of you may not have had the opportunity I've had to travel all over the world. You may not have seen how a lot of people live. The terrible reality is that the world is filled with people who don't have anything. The number of families trying to survive on pennies a day is incomprehensible. They don't have food. They don't have medicine. They don't have air conditioning. They don't have cell phones. They don't have cars, credit cards, or books about how to become a rich idiot. You may be struggling, too. You may be worried about your own family. You may be tossing and turning, thinking the kids are growing out of sneakers faster than you can buy them, that you're living paycheck to paycheck, that your rent is late and it's costing you a small fortune to fill your gas tank. You may think you can't do anything about it. But you can do something. You can be grateful for what you have already. And in expressing that gratitude you can open yourself to receiving even more gifts. Do an inventory of what you do have: food, shelter, clothing, medicine. You've probably got enough food for dinner and breakfast. You've probably got enough money for Starbucks on the way to work. You've got a job and a paycheck. You've got a roof over your head. You've got a cell phone, a computer, a TV, maybe an iPod, perhaps a DVD player or VCR. You've got more than one outfit in the closet, and all you ladies, I know you've got more than one pair of shoes, right? What else? You've probably got a washer and dryer to clean your dirty clothes, a dishwasher to clean your dirty dishes, a fridge to keep your food fresh, and a stove or microwave to heat it. There are sheets on your bed and a rug under your feet. The toilet flushes and the shower works. Your garbage gets picked up and your sewage is sanitized. Your water is safe and, you get the picture. You have a lot to be grateful for, as we all do. You know, one of the reasons I travel to the third world and do charity work is that it puts my life in perspective. When I see the pain and suffering of others, I know I have no problems, just gifts. My suggestion is that you take 5 minutes every day and count your blessings, then say thank you for having blessings to count. And you know what will happen? Your own fears will disappear. You won't be stressed out or depressed. You won't be in a bad mood. Your worries and anxieties will drop away. You'll feel lighter. You'll be open to all the goodies the universe has just waiting for you. True wealth doesn't come from having money, or stocks, and bonds, or real estate. True wealth comes from gratitude for the things that really count. To be a real rich idiot, you've got to know and appreciate what's truly important. It's that knowing that made me the rich idiot you're reading about now. What got me started on the path to becoming a rich idiot was my boss's refusal to let me take off the day after Thanksgiving to count my blessings and be with my family. My boss asked, "Robert, where are your priorities? Obviously your priorities are not with your career or this company." And I replied, "You're right. My priorities are not with my career. They're with my family." In that instant I became a rich idiot and never looked back. Those are your real riches. Your family, your friends, your health, your freedom, and your appreciation for what you have already and the gifts that are yet to come. Each day comes bearing